My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. The entity stalking by helicopter flying over my head at the bus stop at Vineyard, flying over my head while I'm at the Ontario Town Square, where Route 66 show was criminal engagement in the same pattern of conduct, with hundreds and hundreds of people targeting me together with the Ontario police and flying around me, flying in circles, targeting under the fake sun, which I already captured in images this morning. This is not the natural environment. This is a demonic environment where the entity's looking at me taking pictures of Elvira, the demon that was gang stalking, on a microphone, providing amplified audible activity under the fake sun after 6 p.m., where the sun would not in the natural environment be present, like I captured during the 7 a.m. hour. It's 8:41 a.m. And the entity's engaged in gang stalking. Elvira is a gang stalker, a mediocre songstress, engaged in what is monitoring while calling herself a performer at the criminal act by the city of Ontario, Route 66, where the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking. As I walked outside of the OVITT Farming Community Library after 6 p.m., and the same fake sun is right here at the same 2249 Euclid Avenue, where that same agency gang stalking while I'm at Vineyard Avenue and Hope Boulevard, flying in circles while the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking me there, just like they are here under the fake sun. And then when I get on the Omnitrans bus, the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking. As you can see the fake sun through the window, and the Ontario Police is stalking as I'm on Route 61, just like they are now under the fake sun. That is over 1841 East G Street as I check out of my hotel room yesterday. yesterday, and the entities following me to this venue where the fake sun is present after 6 p.m. Those are the demons of the Ontario police that are monitoring, and Elvira is engaged in federal stalking, just like every other demon standing on that stage, using a microphone as amplified audible activity under the fake sun that was still right here after 6 p.m., which I documented. The Route 66 was a criminal act of public corruption. Federal stalking with hundreds of people is an inhumane means of what is a violation of privacy. Monitoring my vagina through Route 66, engaging what is gang stalking with Alan D. WAPNER through Route 66 in the specific environment, monitoring and gang stalking with Mike LORENZ. The demons that are stalking me ceaselessly day and night, flying over my head at the bus stop, like I documented, at 12:54 p.m. under the fake sun, which is over the top of my head, and documented gang stalking flying over the top of my head while I'm at the Starbucks at 507 Euclid Avenue, and while I'm sitting right here at this brick wall last night for over 30 minutes while the entity was gang stalking by helicopters during what is the criminal act Route 66, where the demon possessed engaged in domestic terrorism and psychological torture, and they call it a car show. And there are demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct on the same Euclid Avenue where the fake sun remains, okay? This is a demon engaging in surveillance, stalking in the past. The demon possessed are on Euclid Avenue, gang stalking, stalking in the past. This is surveillance. This is the demon gang stalking, stalking in the past. They're doing so with the demons of the Ontario police, and this is, again, Jason Isaac Field's criminal activity. This is Jason Isaac Fields is his theory is that he will be right in my state. The entities engaging what is following me from place to place, following me from my hotel room yesterday to the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, the Ontario Town Square, to the Starbucks on Euclid, following me, flying over my head, stalking me, harassing and terrorizing, even when I'm on public transportation. And this is stalking that Jason Isaac Fields is engaged in concert with that entity. Jason Isaac Fields is acting to my demise in an effort to commit murder as an entity, in an effort to psychologically torture, which is not going to make his theft of my money and property, his defamation, his conspiracy to commit murder in order to avoid prison for criminal acts that he's committed with Tracy Banks, with this entity, and furtherance of trying to steal what belongs to me. I want to be clear, the entity that's engaged in gang stalking, both the police, the sheriff, and the courthouse, they're doing so on behalf of what is Jason Fields, who sought to steal my property. And Jason Isaac Fields is specifically threatening through an entity that is serving his criminal purpose, serving the government's criminal purpose. All right? This is putting Fields in federal prison.
Tracy Banks is an afterthought. She's going to federal prison. So is Jason Isaac Fields. He is literally to date engaging in what is threatening my life and safety on a ceaseless basis, engaging in what is an inhumane level of sexual violence, while he is engaged in what is stealing property that belongs to me and defaming my character and targeting me via the Ontario Police Department and the people of the state. This is impunity of Jason Fields. This is P.O.C. All right, you're listening to me capturing video of the demons of the Ontario Police, and just like I captured, you will see in images, in fact, I'll give you the timestamps, because the demons are gang stalking. There's a white male wearing a black vest over his t-shirt. On the back of his t-shirt, it says Ontario. So he looks as though he's actually a police officer in civilian clothing. He's gang stalking, crossing path. The fake sun is shining, and the entity is doing so while the demons of the Ontario International Airport are crossing path. He's coming to engage in what is targeting me. This white man is gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport that is maintaining flights miles away from the airport, not takeoffs, while the entity is hovering over the Ontario Town Square. And the entity is engaging in that together. I'm showing you the fake sun that is shining over this venue at what is 7. Let me give you the timestamp right now. And these malicious demons right now, they're coming to the Ontario Town Square under the guise of giving out food, and the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking, flying over. And so is the Ontario Police Department, while demons are engaging in what is, oh, here's some food from a fake church. Okay, the demon possessed that call themselves Catholics. License plate 6XSU273, monitoring with the Ontario Police Department and giving out food. Hello. Yes. Water? Water, thanks. You have food or something?
Yeah,
Comida? What is it?
Burrito.
A burrito? You guys made it? Okay.
You want burrito?
Sure. Thank you. Have a good one. This is P.O.C. 20869R3 4BKF383. And again, these third parties, 6XSU273, they're gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department while they're giving out water and burritos. The Ontario Police just finished flying circles around me. It's the P.O.C. and it's under the fake sun that's still here after 6 p.m. where Elvira is gang stalking on the stage, engaging in federal stalking, criminal facilitation of that, while the City of Ontario engages in criminal conduct, public corruption with the people of the state who are demons together. You're looking at a mass amount of demons engaging in terrorism together. And it is under the guise of what is the Route 66 show. The entity is covering up the fake sun, like I stated. Moments before the entity is stalking. You've already seen the fake sun rising well before 7 o'clock. I've been here at 6 in the morning and the fake sun is here. The entity covering up the fake sun is though the entity is gang stalking me by helicopter when the fake sun is covered up, a full gray sky. The entity is engaging what is stalking with the fake sun, showing that I am indeed the targeted individual. That's why the fake sun is here at this address for over 12 hours. Now the entity is engaging what is covering it up with regard to an inability to understand that the pattern of conduct remains ceaselessly underway, and the supernatural feature of their demonic targeting system is evidence that it is very specific, and I am indeed the only person that is being targeted. And the entity is engaging in that with the people of the state. Covering up the fake sun is under no circumstances deviating from the documented pattern of conduct, and you're never going to erase from the record the fake sun that's at the same 224 North Euclid Avenue, like I documented last night again after 6, where Elvira is on the stage. She's gang stalking me while she's on a microphone singing a song. She's gang stalking, and she is engaged in gang stalking that she's aware of. These are demons that maliciously engage in a pattern of conduct. Demons call themselves singers. They call themselves celebrities. You looked at the pattern of conduct underway through an entertainment, through what is a car show, through a city event yesterday, and it's public corruption that's exposed while Elvira is on the stage engaging in criminal conduct simultaneously, okay, with the government. That's engaging in that same pattern of conduct every day, which is exactly what I was stating yesterday when Elvira was gang stalking me. Okay, this is what Mario Lopez is participating in, coming to Ontario, gang stalking under the fake sun with the entity that's conspiring murder, and they share in that criminal pattern of conduct. And the entity is doing so maliciously. The Ontario Police Department, Mike LORENZ, are engaging in what is terrorism with the Ontario International Airport, who's also targeting. And they're doing so, like I stated, moments before you're listening to this video that I just captured right now. The entity is gang stalking with this white male that is wearing a hat with a white logo on it, black glasses. He's got on blue shorts, a black shirt, and a vest covering up the logo on his shirt. On the back of his shirt, it says Ontario. He is gang stalking. The fake sun is shining at 8:22 a.m. He's crossing path. That's not the sun. This is speaking to engineer light. Activity in this engineer light is how you're accomplishing surveillance. It's 8:22 a.m. Let me give you the timestamp. And the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking. This is at 8:22 a.m. He's walking around me. He's monitoring. He's crossing path. That's stalking. In the path, no warrant or probable cause for the government to stalk me by helicopters, by planes, in vehicles, where you live, or in any establishment or in public. It's a facilitating venue at the Ontario Town Square. It is the same with this white male who was a gang stalker with the Ontario International Airport, sharing in sync with regard to placement in the environment, placing me under surveillance. This is 8:22 a.m. Right now, I'm looking at what is before the demons. They start sounding helicopter activity. This is terrorism. And then I'm capturing the fake sun at 8:23 a.m. And then the entity is engaging in what is moments before 8:47 a.m. is when the Ontario police began stalking by helicopter. And doing so in a manner I'm documenting very heavily gang stalking by demons that are stalking in helicopter everywhere that I'm at the Ontario Town Square last night, at Starbucks last night, flying over the top of my head again, at the bus stop, when I'm on the bus, Route 61, headed toward, back toward the OVITT Family Community Library, and while I am walking down the street, and the entity is gang stalking, flying in circles in alignment to me while I'm on Vineyard Avenue. The entity is stalking, and doing so specifically through the hallmark while the fake sun remains over me, and this is the fake sun remaining over me and not remaining over the OVITT Family Community Library, where that hallmark, demon stalking by helicopter. This is what the entity is doing, and I'm documenting this yesterday. Today at the same Ontario Town Square, it's 8:22 a.m. It's over the Ontario Town Square where it's still here, and I will give you the timestamp again where Elvira. This is when I'm walking out. That's why I'm referring to Elvira, because she is on the stage creating what is audible activity. She's monitoring. She's monitoring with the City of Ontario, and she is monitoring during her time slot. I believe it's 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. and I exit the library at 6 p.m. And the fake sun is shining at this same Ontario Town Square at 6:01 p.m. You're looking at demons standing in light that's just manifesting out of nowhere. It's not even reflecting, bouncing off a building. I took a picture of it, a Latino male at what is, I'll give you the time, 6:02 p.m. He's wearing a brown shirt. He's got a gray beard, and he's got on blue jeans and a jacket hanging over his shoulder. He's standing in engineer light. He's monitoring me, okay? He's standing in light that's just manifesting out of nowhere. Okay, she's just standing in the dirt at the Ontario Town Square adjacent to Wells Fargo, and it's light that's just appearing all over the ground. He's standing in it monitoring with his communication device in his hand. He is gang stalking, and so is everyone else to the audible activity of Elvira, who was on the stage under the 6:02 p.m. fake sun at 224 North Euclid Avenue, the same Ontario Town Square where the Ontario police, like they were yesterday evening with Elvira, gang stalking me, while Elvira is threatening my life and doing so with demons that are relying on the corruption of the cities of the state, like Jason Isaac Fields, a corrupt federal official targeting me with the federal government that is targeting me and has been targeting me since I was a child, now being gang stalked, trying to silence me from exposing the fact that Tracy Banks is likely hiding the fact that I may not be her birth child. This is relevant to her motive to murder me through gang stalking, to defame me through gang stalking, to steal from me by gang stalking me, and also to steal my identity in doing so. And this is, again, stealing my identity relevant to her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, who is also engaged in aiding her and co-conspiring with her and stealing from me and defaming my character via gang stalking. And Jason Isaac Fields is directly engaged in threatening my life and safety with the Ontario Police Department, who is subservient to the corrupt practices of the federal government that is targeting me through Mike LORENZ that are engaged in surveillance. They're engaged in what is targeting, as I'm very heavily documenting. And like I'm stating, the entity that's doing so with impunity, I stated this before, that Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government, is not engaged in an investigation. Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison for targeting me with the Ontario police. Every time that I'm documenting, the entity is engaged in what is threatening my life and safety on behalf of Jason Isaac Fields, who is engaged in trying to commit murder as an entity through an entity in order that he may steal my property and get away with it. That's not going to happen under any circumstances because of my body of evidence, which is not going to be disregarded and ignored. But I want to be clear, he's going to federal prison for that which the Ontario police is still committing to date on behalf of this same demon, Jason Fields, who is not innocent and is not disconnected. He is under no circumstances disconnected from the criminal conduct that I remain subject to. And he is directly engaging in it. He is a demon. These are demons of the Ontario Police. Remember the satanic element here. Not only the pattern of conduct is demonic, but these are demons that are spiritually attacking. And so I just want to make it clear, Jason Isaac Fields is spiritually attacking me. He is monitoring in the spirit, and he is always engaged in threatening. And he does so at the same time that the demons of the Ontario Police begin stalking me by helicopter. He engages in what is threatening me as though he's going to force some sort of encounter between us right before the demons of the Ontario Police Department begin stalking me by helicopter. The entity engages in these types of attacks, psychological warfare, demons that are spiritually attacking you in ways that are supposed to result in your being falsely depicted as mentally ill. But this is not the case. I've already proven that the entity is, first of all, demon-possessed, and they're also engaged in criminal conduct proven through tangible evidence. And relevant context is that Jason Isaac Fields is a psychopath, and he is trying to maintain some dual position where he is both on the one hand conducting himself and outwardly representing himself as though he's in some investigator, and he never was. He's been targeting the whole time. He's been targeting to protect Tracy Banks. He's been targeting to protect himself because he doesn't want to go to prison for what he already knows that he's caught. He's also caught because of my documentation, because of the criminal conduct that this entity, including the Ontario Police, have committed a long time ago. And remember, they are gang stalking somebody that is likely not even the biological child of Tracy Banks. And again, the demise of who are my biological parents is relevant to Jason Isaac Fields, the Ontario Police Department, the state of California, the federal government, regarding what happened to my parents who would have bequeathed me money and property that Jason Isaac Fields, the Ontario Police Department, the state of California, Tracy Banks have stolen and tried to keep concealed that they stole it by gang stalking and ultimately murdering me. This is shared by the people of the state. Those are the demons that are taking out PP loans in my name. Those are the demons that are engaged in criminal activity and trying to defraud me, accuse me, and frame me for it. This is what Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are engaged in the court, while the demons that are stalking me with light, the demons that are gang stalking under the fake sun with the Ontario Police Department, those are the same ones. Those are the same puppets aiding in this conspiracy to kidnap and murder. They've engaged in criminal activity outside of what is just gang stalking. They've engaged in criminal acts against me in order to frame me and that's to accomplish kidnapping, where the entity is going to manufacture a criminal case. In the same way that the entity's gang stalking, trying to manufacture mental illness. They're doing this being subservient to the federal government officials like Tracy Banks' sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, and the Ontario Police Department are subservient to demons like Jason Isaac Fields and the federal government. They're puppets, okay? And they're doing so for a fee. And the entity has stolen my property and paid demons like Mike Lorenz in the Ontario Police Department to keep me under surveillance, to stalk me and harass and do like what a C. Hazelwood has done, 21167, harassing me. And the demons of that barbershop at 415 North Euclid Avenue, pay attention how they move their bench and put it inside. This is, again, them targeting me with the Ontario Police, who are engaged in what is harassing me in the first place. And when he doesn't have any basis, those demons who are gang stalking, as I'm subject to it at that venue, are also engaged in what is targeting me by removing the bench so I can't sleep on it anymore. But they know I was sleeping on it the whole time. They're gang stalking. But I want to be clear, the entity is targeting me with the Ontario Police by removing their bench and putting it on the inside, which they were never doing before. They don't do it until I document the entity targeting through this demon, C. Hazelwood, 21167. Okay, so I just want to point that out. This is an entity that is very much engaged in targeting. They're sitting around Ontario Town Square, engaging in surveillance, stalking in the path, keeping me surrounded. That's only one layer because traffic is keeping me surrounded. The demons inside of the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, the 280 North Limit apartments, the Metro 102 apartments, the demons of the Ontario Fire Department. These are all means of what is criminal presence in the path. The entities engaging in what is surveillance while the Ontario Police fly in circles over my head. And they are doing so pursuant to what is subservience to the government that has committed murder against those that would interfere with stealing my money and property, against those that would interfere with keeping me targeted and keeping me ignorant about money and property that belongs to me, about the true identity of my biological parents, and also regarding what is sex crimes that Tracy Banks and the state of California have committed against me, and they don't want that exposed as well, okay? Sex trafficking me as a child, and also sex trafficking me as an adult while they're gang stalking, which also Jason Isaac Fields, the Los Angeles Police Department, the people of the state, Tracy Banks, the Ontario, this entity engaging what is putting me on the internet, placing cameras in my home. The same demons that are gang stalking me on the roads and the highways are watching my vagina on the internet while they're trafficking me. This is Jason Isaac Fields that is targeting and threatening my life and safety, while the Ontario police, under a fake son that is at the same venue where Elvira, who's on a stage gang stalking me specifically with intent and in concert with this same exact entity. It's public corruption. The federal government relying on the public corruption of the city of Ontario to maintain criminal surveillance with psychopaths who are stalking me obsessively, sitting around at the Ontario Town Square, where the entity covers up the fake sun moments before the demons of the Ontario Police Department fly around in circles, which they do at nightfall as well, and they're also gang stalking. The fake sun is an indicator regarding who is the specific person that is being targeted, and it is indeed me. That's why the fake sun is over my head at this venue in the morning, and over in alignment to me amongst everybody else at the same Ontario Town Square at the food festival, where A. Morris and the Ontario police are gang stalking. A. Morris is going to federal prison. Okay, the entities engaged in what is gang stalking after 6 p.m. were the fake sons in alignment to me at the Route 66 show. And the Ontario police are gang stalking, and so are the people of the state, where the sun is not going to be setting at the same venue where they are this morning stalking while that fake sun is still here. I captured it in images, and covering it up before you're stalking in helicopter is relevant to what are, first of all, demons, who are second of all engaged in surveillance, and third of all, they're doing it on behalf of demons like Jason Isaac Fields, who is a demon. He's engaged in spiritually attacking me. That's psychological warfare, and he does so in sync with the demons of the Ontario police as they start gang stalking me by helicopter. This is a demon that is engaged in what is thinking that he can threaten me and force or coerce anything or intimidate me, including while I'm documenting him, including by name. And this is even evidence that's not going to be disregarded. Jason Isaac Fields is never coming into my presence. Jason Isaac Fields is going to prison for even longer if he ever comes into my presence. He's going to prison, period. He's going to prison for even longer for the intolerable threat that he poses while the Ontario police are in concert with Jason Isaac Fields threatening my life on a ceaseless basis. Jason Isaac Fields is keeping my vagina under surveillance. He's a violent sex offender while he is threatening my life, and also is sexually obsessed with me, and also is engaged in what is wanting to steal my money and murder me in doing so, and also sexually obsessed with me and having sex with my mother. He's a psychopath. Okay, he will never come to my presence, and if he does, he's going to prison for even longer. He's going to federal prison under all circumstances. He's going to federal prison because I'm on the street and he's been living in my house. He's been spending my money. He's been paying gang stalkers with my money. He's been having sex with my mom, who stole my property and my house and my identity for that purpose. He's going to federal prison under all circumstances. And so is C. Torres, L. Martinez. So is B. Hook, Nathan Morgan. So is C. Hazelwood and Owens. So is Alex Escobar, L. Edwards, and A. Casada. So is A. Morris and Corporal Kemp. So is Jason Knighton, Lester Keys, and so is Officer Melnick, so is R. Guerrero, so is Corey Watson, so are all the demons that engaged in kidnapping of that same agency that's stalking with impunity. They're stalking with impunity, and guess who else is going to federal prison? All the gang stalking judges that entertain the criminal acts of the Ontario Police Department. Every fictitious case, because that's what it is when you're engaged in surveillance, it's a fictitious exercise of authority under the law, and that is malicious, while those courts I've also documented as gang stalkers. The Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct and gang stalking judges, because that's what you are, you're going to federal prison. And you're going to federal prison while the Ontario police are still gang stalking me. While they write out citations, while they claim they have warrants, they're accruing what is time in federal prison. And that goes from the police to the court, to the court and to the sheriff's department. They're all going to federal prison. That's that whole system in operation, which Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government, is relying on to kidnap and keep me under surveillance while the federal government, tried to steal my money, my property, and my identity. Okay? And they're doing so in concert with demons Tracy Banks, who's not even my real mother. Okay, and that is relevant to the entity that's engaging in this conduct against me. Jason Isaac Fields is a psychopath. He's engaged in what is witchcraft, and he is still obsessed with my demise. And this is relevant to why the federal government shall keep him away from me. And this is he's a threat to my safety, and he is a threat to people and women and children, by the way. But he is a threat to me specifically. And if he ever comes into my presence, those who are already going to federal prison, they're all going to prison for even longer. You're not going to have insurance policy on me. You're not going to target me. You're not going to steal my property and have me living on the street. You're not going to threaten my life and safety, kidnap me, defame me, and then come into my presence as a corrupt official. You're going to federal prison, and any delusional psychopath, it's going on the internet, and everybody's getting more time for that. That's how this entity is going to be prosecuted. Everybody's getting more time. It is currently, and that's not going to be 6 months. Everybody's getting more time in the same way that the Ontario Police, they're all going to federal prison for gang stalking with the Ontario Police. You're gang stalking with the Ontario Police as the Sheriff's Department. You're gang stalking with the Ontario Police as the court. You're gang stalking with the Ontario Police as the people of the state. You're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:07 a.m. The entity covering up the fake son is not going to protect Elvira. She's engaged in criminal monitoring. Route 66 is engaged in criminal monitoring. That was a criminal offense. It was terrorism. And it's inhumane with regard to the level of harassment. That was an inhumane level of harassment by the government. An inhumane act of criminal conduct regarding what is psychological torture. The entity doing so with regard to the inhumane level of sexual violence. Route 66 monitoring my vagina while I'm inside of the bathroom of the OVITT Family Community Library that is routinely engaging in surveillance with the Ontario Police Department at that. And they're doing so while they're entertaining themselves, and they're targeting me. And that is in concert with Jason Isaac Fields, who will never come into my presence. And the world needs to know that he is a demon-possessed psychopath. He is a sex offender. He's a pedophile. He's engaged in what is facilitating pedophilia. He's a sex offender that's engaged in sex trafficking me. He has stolen my money and property, and I have no business being outside for sex offenders like the gang members of the Ontario Police to even be able to fly over my head in a helicopter for me to be able to capture it and put it on the internet. But that's why it's happening, because they're being disbanded. The Ontario International Airport is being shut down. The people of the state that are kidnapping with that agency are going to federal prison where terrorists belong, and so is Jason Fields and Tracy Banks and everybody else that aided in what is my murder and theft of everything that belongs to me, and that everybody that sat in court and perjured themselves in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder and kidnap me. Okay, the entity engaged in an elaborate act to target me. Gang stalkers taking out loans in my names and committing criminal acts seeking to frame me for it while I'm sitting up kidnapped somewhere, while I'm documenting the P.O.C. It's no question where I'm at and what I'm doing, and it's also no question about who I am and my history. Those are the demon-possessed gang stalkers engaging in that criminal act against me. Jason Fields is going to prison for it, for all of the above. It is currently, I want to be clear, he's a demon. He worships Satan, and he is not engaged in what is a genuine provision of evidence or cooperation with the federal government. He is still engaged in what is targeting me with the Ontario Police, and he is a delusional psychopath who is miserable, and he's envious of me. He wants to be me. He wants to be a woman. He wishes that he could switch positions. He's got the same Jezebel spirit. Okay, he's got the same Jezebel spirit of the women who are homosexual, who are obsessed with my vagina, who are stalking me. That is what is wrong with Jason Isaac Fields. He's going to federal prison for this, though, because his mental illness has caused him to engage in what is terrorism and abusing a government position, while he's inherently conflicted as well and engaged in what is conspiring my murder by targeting me with the agency, the Ontario Police, and every other corrupt law enforcement agency. Remember, he's gang stalking me with Fontana Police, Pomona Police, Pasadena Police, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, with every other law enforcement agency that are actually gang members that are engaged in this conduct. Jason Fields, the federal government, is targeting me with all of them. Ontario Police is just one agency that Jason Isaac Fields is relying on to keep me under surveillance while I'm in Ontario, to repeatedly, ceaselessly threaten me, to follow me around the city, to terrorize and harass me. Jason Fields is going to prison for that. Specifically, he is going to federal prison for it. All right? It is currently, again, 9:10 a.m. This is P.O.C., and this is going on the internet right now. And the entity is engaged in what is conduct that is going to put the co-conspirator Jason Isaac Fields in federal prison. I want to document his birth date is January 10th, 1985, maybe. I think he's born in 85. And the last phone number that I have of Fields is 702-373-6960. The last address that he was at where he was gang stalking me was in Rialto, California, where he was engaged in the pattern of conduct with the Rialto Police, because that's the city that I was in. So he was engaged in criminal monitoring there. He's been engaged in a long-term sexual relationship, a commitment with Tracy Banks, which is relevant for purposes of their conspiracy to target me, because there is Tracy Banks and Jason Fields should not know each other. He was acting like he was my friend. I never introduced them. They have no business being in contact or knowing each other. This is something that, but I know no business, I mean, it's relevant to the entity targeting me with Tracy Banks, who has a secret relationship with everybody that was feigning being my friend, with everybody that's in my family feigning to love me and care about me and want my best interests in mind. She's engaged in that with people that I didn't even know that she was conversing with. This is an entity that's directly relevant to that pattern of conduct, and she's engaging in this P.O.C. with everybody in my personal life that we're engaging in what is gang stalking, with the Ontario Police Department in the city of Ontario, with the San Bernardino Police Department in the city of San Bernardino, with the Riverside Police Department, the Moreno Valley Police, in which would have been in Moreno Valley, California, when I was conversing with Jason Fields on the telephone in Moreno Valley in 2014. I believe she's been gang stalking the whole time, and Jason Fields has had this long-term sexual relationship. It's relevant to his malicious intent toward me, where he's been gang stalking. It's not because of his, this is not based on his being scorned by me or being rejected. It has nothing to do with that. I've been targeted by the federal government since I was a child. Jason Fields is nothing other than another sex recruit by Tracy Banks. She has sex with everybody behind my back. She wants to be me, and she has sex with people that I don't even have sex with. I just converse with them. I talk to them, and she will seek them out and have sex with them. And they engage in what is targeting me as well. They're engaging in this pattern of conduct, and Jason Fields is a corrupt official that targeted me to murder me, that targeted me because of money and property that Tracy Banks told him about. He targeted me because he is, again, a corrupt official that is in law enforcement to engage in terrorism, just like the corrupt agency, the Ontario Police Department. They're criminals, not police officers. That's what Jason Fields' motivation is. Okay, and he's going to federal prison for that. And I want to be clear, this is relevant to the entity that's engaging in this P.O.C. with a high level of malice and psychopathic appetite, bloodthirsty desire to engage in that which they're not going to engage in any sort of secret manner at all. It's all over the internet what the entity is doing, and it's all over the internet that the entity is doing it while keeping the evidence under surveillance. Mike LORENZ is done with law enforcement, and so is everybody. The Ontario Police is being removed, and they're done with law enforcement, period. But more than that, domestic terrorists that are engaging in kidnapping, like the Ontario Police, they're going to federal prison. Domestic terrorists that engage in kidnapping American citizens while masquerading as police officers, they're going to federal prison. And that's what justice requires. And those that engage in it, like Ocean and Patty and Amelia and everybody else engaging in kidnapping on July 4th, 2025, remember, they did it under the fake sun that is setting on the same Euclid Avenue, targeting me. And that's what they're doing, kidnapping with this same agency that is targeting me with impunity. Don't forget about who's kidnapping with them, because the Starbucks personnel are going to federal prison where terrorists belong, when you're targeting with a corrupt agency that's trying to engage in murder as an entity. You're going to federal prison. That's already on the record, and it's the same with Tracy Banks. Engaging in what is multiple kidnappings with this same agency stalking me day and night. It goes all the way back to Kessel and Cho of the Ontario Police in 2019, to Jonathan Burnett and Sequoia of the Ontario Police. They're all going to federal prison. And they've been targeting with Jason Fields, who's been targeting me for years, the entire time. This whole campaign is to steal my money, to conceal that I am not Tracy Banks' biological daughter. If I've been adopted in the entity, concealed that. That's relevant to gang stalking me as well, and relevant to what is concealing money that belongs to me, money and property that the government that's gang stalking me stole from me, and is also doing so with a level of impunity that remains legally relevant. Okay? The entity is engaging in that, and I want to make sure that it is understood that Alan D. Wapner, that Mike LORENZ, those are the ones stalking with planes and helicopters under the fake sun at the Ontario Town Square. So let me show you that fake sun that was still here while the Ontario Police are gang stalking, because that's the environment where Southwest Airlines is gang stalking at the 224 North Euclid Avenue, where Elvira is gang stalking at this same address at 6 o'clock in the evening. Okay? This is the entity that's engaging in criminal conduct through the masses. And that is how you're engaging what is psychologically torturing the person that you intend to murder when you engage in that level of criminal conduct targeting, which every apartment complex, every business, every person is sharing in that, including while they do so through the Route 66 car show. Okay, and those are all demons that were focused on me. That's why the fake sun remained over in alignment to me while California Highway Patrol was here gang stalking yesterday under the fake sun that's still here after 6 p.m. That's why the Black Hawk Patrol, the security, they're gang stalking with the entity that is, again, while they're supposedly providing security services, no, they're engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct. And the entity is doing so through what is a means of public corruption, criminal surveillance, and domestic terrorism. is what is underway while they're calling it a Route 66 car show. And the fake sun is evident regarding where it remains in alignment to me, where I'm at during the course of this car show. Where is this impossible light activity like I captured on video during the course of this car show, where hundreds of people are together engaging what is terrorism of one person that they together intend to torment and murder as an entity, okay? This is P.O.C. These are demons that have got together for a car show, and these are demons that are specifically targeting me by name, Erica Lorenz Spencer, knowing who I am. And their knowledge is proven to you through the fake sun that's still at this same address, where the Ontario police that are being disbanded and the demons of that agency are going to federal prison for this very criminal system, proven by stalking me by helicopter by that same agency. They're going to prison, and Jason Isaac Fields is going to prison. Okay? Again, that was Southwest Airlines gang stalking under the fake sun that the entity covered up. Okay, and it is relevant to what is covering up, because when you have a fake sun that sits at one address all day long, and which is obviously also going to exclude Florida from ever having any sun anywhere in the state, that's the entity that's also engaging in the demonic conduct of covering up the fake sun and then engaging in what is documented terrorism by stalking in helicopters with the population, malicious demons that are Satan worshipers calling themselves Catholics, handing out burritos while they're gang stalking with that entity. Okay, those are the psychopaths that commit murder in hospitals, and they claim that it's an accident and they don't know what happened and they have to try to do some sort of rescue. And they're the ones that committed the murder. That's the level of malice that you're dealing with amongst the demon-possessed that are engaging in this very system. Okay, this is P.O.C. and it's currently 9:17 a.m. I want to just make sure I'm honing in. There are many angles to this pattern of conduct, but it is going toward, I want to document, again, the entity that's engaging in what is witchcraft. Witchcraft is also gang stalking. This stalking with light conduct, that's witchcraft, that's demonic. This stalking under the fake sun, yeah, witchcraft, it's demonic. And the demon-possessed are engaging in that in front of your face, including through a performance. This is what Elvira is doing. She's engaging in demonic activity right in front of your face through her mediocre voice while she's engaged in what is targeting someone, and she's getting applause from the demons who are all together gang stalking, engaging in criminal activity at this same address 12 hours later where the sun is still here. Okay, she's engaged in federal stalking, and she is doing so through what is Route 66, which is engaging in criminal activity. It is P.O.C. It's currently, and that's all proven through images and video that I captured yesterday, September 20th, 2025. It is, again, 9:18 a.m. This is... Oh, I just want to be clear. Not only is this demon, this witch, Jason Isaac Fields, he is not only engaged in what is targeting me with the Ontario Police in real time, spiritually attacking me as the demons of the Ontario Police Department begin stalking by helicopter physically, and they're spiritually sharing in psychological torture, and I'm exposing it because I'm exposing the demon-possessed, and he's also surrounded with evidence physically, tangible evidence for which Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison. But I want to make sure that the world knows that he's a Satan-serving demon. He is also a criminal who wants to appear before the world as one that's not such a bad guy, that provided evidence to try to... No, he's not. He's a lying, maniacal psychopath who is engaged in what is psychological torture in concert with the demon that is stalking me in a helicopter this morning. In fact, as the demons start sounding helicopter activity, this is psychological torture. It's audible activity while the entity does that. You hear the helicopter in the distance. You see the fake sun. All of a sudden, it starts getting covered up as though they're going to conceal it. This is the entity and this is the illusion, while they are not under any circumstances, any spooky character, whatever. The entity is already prosecuted. These are delusional psychopaths that are headed, first of all, to hell. Second of all, they're all headed to prison, and they're all going to be prosecuted with regard to the entire state of California. Literally, I'm prosecuting gang stalkers in Oakland while Ontario, California is targeting me, okay? But I just want to be clear. This is the entity that's engaged in that. They're delusional, they're mentally ill because these are demons, and they're engaging in conduct and they've already lost in the entire point of what they sought to do at the outset. It's already forfeited, but they're still targeting and they're being prosecuted for it. That's fine. But I want to be clear. Jason Isaac Fields is not only a demon that's engaged in spiritually attacking me and engaging in what is spiritual attacks as though he's going to force anything. He's not going to force anything. He's never coming into my presence. He can't. He's already blocked. But I want to be clear. Were he to step foot in relevant position, okay, where he's already engaged in, don't forget, putting on paper that he's married to me. He is very much a horrible, bad, evil person and a criminal. That's what matters under the law, okay? He's a criminal. He engaged in fraud while he stole my money and property, aware and intended to keep me in this impoverished position. while the demons gang stalking now are the ones taking out PPP loans in my name, while he is stealing my money and property and having sex with my mom. And doing so, again, with my mom, who's not actually my mom. And they're together keeping that information from me while they think that they have the perfect plan to kill me off and steal my property. He's the one that is defaming my character and also wanting to be married to me, that is wanting to be financially connected to me in order to steal from me, while he is spiritually attacking in concert with the demons that are physically in my presence, stalking me day and night, like I'm documenting very diligently by videos and images and podcasts, by helicopter as a whole agency. Don't forget that Jason Isaac Fields maintains a fraudulent marriage to me. I would never marry, let alone have a conversation with this HIV-infected homosexual who regularly gets on all fours and also has sex with this 60-plus-year-old woman who is not even my real mother. I would never even have a conversation with him. He is a maniacal psychopath. He is more psychotic than these demons that are flinging light around while they're hostile, listening to every word that I utter while they obsessively stalk me. That's what is Jason Isaac Fields. I would never be in his presence. If he ever comes into relevant position, not only am I going to document, it's going all over the internet because I'm going to prosecute the entirety of the government with it. The government is targeting me on behalf of what is Jason Fields and Tracy Banks, the federal government. This is a delusional psychopath. He's a homosexual. He's a promiscuous whore. He's also one that takes money for sex. He'll be gay for sex. This is relevant to his mental illness. This is not gossip. This is relevant to his mental illness. This is relevant to how demented he is. This character is what was defaming my character in a court where I wasn't present, where I couldn't obviously speak against the lies, the blatant lies about this charlatan that is admitting to what he is and what he does while he's putting my name in it because he wants to steal my money and my property while I'm sleeping outside. He's going to federal prison. Don't forget, he's the one that intentionally and deliberately maintains a fraudulent marriage while the demons of the Ontario police are criminally defaming me and kidnapping me while stalking me and making up information upon stalking me, and relying on corrupt sheriff's departments, relying on corrupt courts to maintain that paper trail so that then that homosexual can use it in fake court hearings. Everybody having anything to do with kidnapping me and stealing from me is going to prison. Every single last one, especially Jason Fields. The only thing that he was leading was the campaign for the many people that are going to prison and the many people that are going to drop dead from the dark magic, the black magic that they practice that is not working against me. And it's going right back to them. That includes Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields. I want to be clear that you understand that when you are listening and looking at the documentation of the Ontario Police Department clearly engaging in terrorism, domestic terrorism for which they're going to be disbanded, Jason Isaac Fields is engaged in it. He engaged in what is marrying me on paper in secret while I'm being gang stalked by him, by the state, with the intent to murder me so that he can get away with what he already stole, so that he could also steal this very intellectual property. That is evidence of his malice in the first place. He is not, with any good intentions, providing any information to the federal government. He's going to prison. There was never an investigation. There was never any lawful basis for an investigation at that. The federal government is being prosecuted for that. He's going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. Don't forget that. He maintained a fraudulent marriage to me while he's also at the same time defaming me while I am being gang stalked. Okay? And the entities engaging in that with the intent to murder. And they're doing so when they already lost that bet, and the Ontario police are still providing evidence against everybody who's going to prison. What they're doing and why they're doing it. Their witchcraft isn't working, and you need to know that Tracy Banks, there is reason to believe that this is not my birth mother, and that there needs to be proof regarding who she actually is and why she would be motivated to murder somebody that would be my biological parents, and also to steal my money, because that would be a very crucial and relevant motive that the government shares. Okay, so you're talking about whether I am somebody that's been in the custody of the government engaging in sex crimes against me, trying to conceal that. That's relevant to the Ontario police gang stalking. Gang stalking had the opposite, ironically, the opposite effect. It didn't conceal the sex acts and the kidnapping and the murder that this government engaged in to steal money and wealth from me. It actually is serving to reveal it. And Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison for it. He is going to federal prison. This is an entity that's engaging in that, and it's directly relevant to the criminal conduct that Mike Lorenz, that Alan D. Wapner are engaging in. That's the psychopathic pattern of conduct. The government's engagement and investment at the same time, that's Alan D. Wapner keeping it under surveillance under the fake sun. And remember who's gang stalking? Elvira on a microphone at 6 p.m. at the same address. That's the entity that is also, while they admittedly engage in that, that's relevant to kidnapping of myself. That's relevant to sex crimes committed against me as a child by this government. That's relevant to murder of the actual birth parents, okay, that the entity never told me about while I'm kidnapped by Tracy Banks, who's not even my birth parent. This is what needs to be looked into. And the entity is engaging in this in real-time stalking. Guess what's not happening from the airport at what is 9:27 a.m. because I already took an image of the airport flights that are never going to be hovering over the Ontario Town Square. That has the fake sun still here, where gang stalkers are on this stage using a microphone, which is a matter of amplified audible activity. And you're also paying attention as I refer to gang stalkers like Alan D. Wapner. The demons begin flight. The entity is maintaining flights right now at 9:27 a.m. The entity is, again, Alaska Airlines, September 21st, which is from flight number AS2134 going to Portland. The entity has Alaska Airlines at 9:26 a.m. Flight from the Ontario Town Square, which is not going to be hovering over the Ontario Town Square. Alaska Airlines flight to Portland, okay? That's why the entity is sounding sirens, by the way. This is the entity that's engaging in monitoring and is engaged in what is called criminal summoning. That's what C. Hazelwood and Ravanko are going to prison for. Okay, the entity is doing so while they're monitoring the evidence, like the Michael Gerken is monitoring my vagina. Okay, the entity is engaging in this. It says that September 21st at 9:25 a.m. Southwest Airlines flight number WN3381 headed to Phoenix would be taken off from the airport at 9:25 a.m. The entity is hovering over the Ontario Town Square. You're taking off from Terminal 2, Terminal 4, 2500 Airport Drive. You are flying northwest over 4 miles, which is not a takeoff from the airport. So neither Alaska Airlines nor Southwest Airlines flights are going to be hovering over the Ontario Town Square in the way in which that I am documenting. And not only that, at the same time that I'm documenting that in my documentation, which the entity is keeping under surveillance, as I refer to the gang stalker Alan D. Wapner, who was engaged in the conspiracy to murder a sex crime victim of the state of California and a kidnapped child of the state of California, whose parents were likely murdered by the entity, including the state of California, acting with Tracy Banks and demons seeking to cover it up like Jason Isaac Fields. This is an entity that is doing so at the same time that I refer to it. And the entity is engaged in that. And then as I refer to the evidence of what is targeting by that airport, a terrorist, not a legitimate airport, the entity starts sounding sirens, which is activity creation, monitoring by the government, who's monitoring by the people at all times, under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. You know it's a fake sun because Elvira is singing under it while it's in alignment to me at 6 p.m. at this same address. Okay? You can look Elvira up. Okay? She's a demon-possessed, gang-stalking, mediocre songstress that was on the stage engaging in what is demonic activity and calling it a performance. That is Satan that's engaging in what is a demonic activity right in front of your face, and it's criminal activity in plain view. It's public corruption. And the entity is serving to what is prosecute these gang stalking performers, gang stalking visitors that are sharing in public corruption while they're gang stalking me under the fake sun that remains here while those demons that are engaging the P.O.C. here leave and that fake sun remains. They were all stalking. They were all monitoring. That's what that's letting you know about. And they're doing so with demons like Jason Isaac Fields, who is targeting through the airport, through the police department, through the fire department, through the gang stalking ambulances, through the gang stalking sheriff's departments and California Highway Patrol. That's relevant to what is the entity that's conspiring murder. And they want to murder because they want me to be quiet about being adopted. They want me to be quiet about my parent or parents being murdered by the entity that wanted to steal money and wealth that belonged to me. That's relevant why they would kill my parents and then kidnap me and then steal my money that my parents would have left to me that nobody told me about. And nobody told me about my parents. And nobody told me that there were any hearings concerning my property that was left to me by my potentially murdered parents. Nobody said anything about that. But Jason Isaac Fields is standing on a mountaintop engaging in a criminal act in a courtroom that's engaged in what is targeting me, while referring to property that belongs to me and defaming my character in doing so with the demons that I'm documenting that are going to be putting him in federal prison, and they're going to federal prison. Gang stalking by the Ontario International Airport is disbanding the Ontario Police and putting Fields in prison. Gang stalking by the Ontario Fire Department is disbanding the Ontario Police and putting Fields in prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:31 a.m. Do not forget that Fields is engaged in what is fraudulently, that is, engaging in what is a criminal act against me, very much intentionally and maliciously targeting not a friend and not a genuine provider of any evidence to the federal government. This is somebody that thought that providing a little bit of information, not too much, because he wants to avoid prison, and he's not avoiding prison. And if he ever comes into my presence, he's going to prison for even longer, and so is everybody else. Okay? All right, let's look at 9:32 a.m. Flight by Southwest Airlines at 9:35 a.m., flight number WN2680, which is not going to be hovering over. It's not going to be heard, and it's also happening under the fake sun. That's Southwest Airlines gang stalking right now, flying over, capturing the images, and also doing so at what is Ontario Town Square. The fake sun's in alignment to me where I'm at the property, and the entity is doing so while keeping this fake sun as you're looking at the Route 66 show. As I exit the OVITT Family Community Library, the entity is engaging in what is keeping this specific environment to continue keeping me under surveillance with thousands of people at one time, which is getting to the inhumanity of what is gang stalking, and it is domestic terrorism. This is P.O.C. and the impunity is shared by the Ontario Police Department. The Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, the Wells Fargo, the 280 North Limit Apartments, Metro 102 Apartments. The entity is gang stalking through the City of Ontario, the demon-possessed people of the state. The entity is gang stalking through the malicious guise of what is not even the sound of the train. However, Union Pacific Railroad is going to be prosecuted with regard to what is interstate commerce, the criminal misuse of the train tracks as a means of audible activity, gang stalking, federal stalking, and this is ongoing domestic terrorism that the entity is engaging in while a fake sun remains under me, and it is facilitating what is surveillance on the roads and the highways by the people of the state. All right, this is all underway while Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields thought that they had the perfect plan to set me up as an adopted child that was stolen from and was also sex trafficked by the government. And the entity is engaging in this conduct with regard to what is trying to conceal that, and it is an epic failure. And the criminal conduct by the to-be-removed Ontario International Airport, where the entity has the fake sun over me at that airport. I'm documenting that while even this year when I go to the Fontana Lewis Library, but there is no point at which during the 10 o'clock hour will the sun be over the Ontario International Airport. Okay, that's when I'm on Omnitrans, and the Omnitrans Route 61 drives onto what is the grounds of the airport at 2500 Airport Road, and the entity has the fake sun through the window where Omnitrans is gang stalking. That's also relevant to the terrorism of under the corrupt actor Alan D. Wapner. He is being removed from position. He is a domestic terrorist. He is a co-conspirator to murder. He's engaged in criminal surveillance, and he's also lying about the actual business of the Ontario International Airport, which is surveillance, not the legitimate business of an airport. Southwest Airlines is a gang stalker. Okay, it is also engaged in what is conspiracy to commit murder. But I just want to make sure that that is clear. The fraudulent marriage to me on paper is criminal conduct by the government, not just Jason Fields who's going to prison. This is speaking to what is surveillance that's underway in the U.S., and surveillance is underway by the people of the state. Surveillance is underway by the government that is acting with an entity that is targeting American citizens. And we are all under surveillance, and that's what you are realizing. But this is an entity that engaged in an elaborate criminal act against me, trying to kill me off and silence me, and thought that gang stalking was going to equal, oh, she's crazy, because no. It's showing how corrupt the entity is, engaging in actual proven surveillance, and the evidence showing that gang stalking anyone will never defame any target individual's character at all. These imbeciles that don't know what they're talking about, that rely on corruption, that cannot think collectively together, can't put any sort of logic together, nor can they individually. And they have been overwhelmed and bullied intellectually with regard to what my evidence shows, and what is under no circumstances any reflection on a target individual that proves that you're being stalked by an airport, by a police department, by a fire department, by a population. Every single business, and that they're demons doing so under things as ridiculous and demonic and psychopathic and absurd as a fake sun. They're the demon-possessed population. It's criminal, it's public corruption, it's terrorism, and it's demonic activity. And Jason Fields is going to prison. This demon that put on paper that he's married to me, he did so to steal from me. And he did so of his own motive. It wasn't just Tracy Banks. He did so out of his own wicked and corrupt desire, and he's going to prison. Okay? The City of Ontario is putting him there. This is P.O.C.
The demons congregating at Bethel Congregation at 537 North Euclid Avenue are monitoring my vagina. It's 11:46 a.m. Sensational activity under my feet in the bathroom as the demons are responsive to my observations of them monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. That is impossible sensational activity under my feet with simultaneity to my observations regarding the legal implications of the fake sun outside of the door of this church, an engineer light that is reaching into the depths like a body on the ground inside, and sunlight is stretching into underneath a doorway, which is impossible light activity. In other words, it's also impossible while the sun remains over Ontario Town Square or over my hotel room at Ramada by Wyndham, where I checked out yesterday at 11:20, and I remained at that entrance with the fake sun over my head documenting terrorists, including the Ontario International Airport, including the Ontario Fire Department, and the various sex offenders documented by license plate. These are demons monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. I'm in here, and that's a sex offender that's engaging in activity creation, very much aware of what I'm saying, the status of my vagina, and is engaging in what is activity while trying to open the door. And that's also psychopathic. Bethel Congregation is a gang stalking, demon-possessed fake church engaged in criminal activity. And their fake prayers that are not heard are audible activity serving to monitor me in the bathroom as well. And it's terrorism while I'm inside of this church. Okay, remember, church is nothing other than a word. Okay, it has significance with regard to those who actually know Christ Jesus. Satan uses the same words, and it means nothing. You're looking at the surface of the thing, and Satan is always creating the illusion. All right, the illusion of reality versus the actual reality. And those that know Christ Jesus are not monitoring spirits. They're not perverts engaging in surveillance in a bathroom. They're not engaging in what is using what is supposed to be worship to Christ Jesus as a guise for gang stalking, which is demonic and offered unto Satan. This is P.O.C, ongoing terrorism inside of the bathroom, repeated sensational activity under my feet. And this is the entity that has the fake sun over 537 North Euclid Avenue over me at 537 North Euclid Avenue as well. Not only is it impossible that it would be here with regard to all the body of evidence, but it's over me at this address where they're targeting my vagina as a fake church. This is P.O.C. Monitoring with a minor child. These are pedophiles. And what I'm documenting now is the absence of the engineer light that I already captured because Satan is a liar. All right? Engineer light is present, it's just in a different hue. But the rich concentrated light is now gone, and the fake sun is present still. It's covered up. These are demons. And this is not genuine worship. Anybody can sing, anybody can say the name of Christ. All right, this is P.O.C. And I've documented more than one fake church before. This is P.O.C. And particularly disgusting. These are demons. Audible activity. remember, this is bathroom monitoring. Okay? It's audible activity. It's always important to understand the substance of the thing and not the mere appearance. Satan is very deceptive. This is demonic.
All because you live the beautiful gift of Jesus. Because you live, oh, you make Jesus. Oh, because you live. Oh, because you live. Oh, your powerful name.
Jesus' parables of the dishonest managers help us know our own error is not the only one in which people steal, and act shrewdly. Yet the wealth of the rich man and the adjustments made by the manager, also translated as steward, were insignificant compared to the true riches God offers to each and to all of God's own beloved creatures. When we come to this table, we're invited to recognize the true wishes which Jesus gave the disciples in the upper room. We remember what has been handed down to us. These tiny pieces of bread and the thimbles of juice nourished us and helped open our eyes to see the abundant love which Jesus poured out. As we focus on our minds and hearts on these gifts, there is no need to sneak, steal, or act shrewdly.
Audible activity.
Or opportunity
Terrorism in the bathroom.
honest with God. So come for this
This is P.O.C.
true riches which we are invited
This is a fake church, and these are non-believers abusing the name of Christ.
followers of Jesus the Christ come.
They're all over the place. Know the difference. P.O.C. License 6HJS 981. SHG498. RTL363. FBT303. (9BGC769).
All right, sex offenders engaging in what is teamwork, conspiring around the bathroom. So I will go into the women's restroom and a sex offender walks into the male restroom. That's relevant positioning, while a demon is already engaged in surrounding in the stall that I typically use because of all my stuff. It's the only one that size. When you're stalking in the bathroom, that's the type of conduct that gang stalkers engage in, who are sex offenders engaged in monitoring with the police. The entities engaging in that pursuant to what is monitoring inside of the private space. It is also harassment while they're engaging in gang stalking. The entity that I'm documenting stalking by helicopter is the entity that's acting through the people of the state that are gang stalking, engaging in surveillance in that bathroom. So I just want to document that. And this is following into the bathroom. Yeah, that's a demon falling into the bathroom. You can hear that's activity creation, and that's the same Ontario Police Department engaging in that. And this is 3:54 p.m. This is the entity that's engaged in what is monitoring vagina, homosexuals, engaging in sexual violence in a private space, and the entity is going to be prosecuted for that. This is P.O.C. This is activity creation. While, again, homosexuals want to engage in what is being around me, being next to me, being near me while I'm disrobed, while I'm in a private space, engaging in private activity, and doing so as obsessed psychopaths who are also stalking me day and night, molesting with light, doing so with the entity that uses helicopter with regard to what is indication regarding everyone that's engaging in that same stalking behavior. It's happening and centered around a bathroom. And that is what is the mental illness of the demon-possessed that do so under what is a fake sun as well. Ongoing indication of severe mental illness of sex offenders, predators that do engage in stalking in the OVITT Family Community Library. The entity is going to be prosecuted. The OVITT Family Community Library itself is engaging in sexual violence. The City of Ontario is, and it is inhumane with regard to that level of sexual violence. This is all public and exposed information. While a sex offender, the entity enters into the bathroom to engage in gang stalking. Okay, so this is all the entity that's engaged in what is monitoring. The entity enters the bathroom. That's P.O.C. This is the entity that is, again, gang stalking at a fake church, all right? Engaging in what is stalking at a fake church under a fake sun, stalking at a library, stalking in a bathroom, stalking on the roads and the highways, stalking all night long, stalking in helicopters and in airplanes. This is the entity that is, again, Jason Isaac Fields is being going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. This is all activity. This is for monitoring. And Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison for this. And the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. It's 3:56 p.m. This is the entity that is following me into the bathroom. And that's exactly what you're doing when the entity keeps a fake sun and engineer light. Okay? So it is very specific and personal with regard to what the entity is doing, engaging in that P.O.C. This homosexual enters the bathroom to engage in what is going into the stall, flushing the toilet, being next to me, turning on the dryer. All she's doing is coming in and engaging in what is activity. So the rest of the entity, the City of Ontario, is pacing around under engineer light, monitoring like I'm showing you when I walk out, and the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. She enters in, and this is a homosexual female engaging in it. It's a demon-possessed person. I'm doing so with the predators of the male gender, pacing into the bathroom, waiting for me to go to the bathroom, walking in. This is stalking in the path. Those are demons engaging in that, and they're all engaging in what is concentrating on my vagina. That's including Securitas, the white male. He's a sex offender, and so is the company, and so this is the City of Ontario. This is the mayor monitoring my vagina. This is all of that is encompassed within bathroom monitoring. This is 215 C Street, OVITT Family Community Library. Sean Thrasher, who's subject to federal prison for the kidnappings occurring at this venue while engaging in this inhumane level of sexual violence. And this is, again, relevant to who was going to prison. Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, absolutely. It's all the same pattern of conduct that they're engaging in to date. P.O.C. I just want to make sure I reiterate, the entity that is engaged in the documented acts of obstruction of justice while they're engaging in the sex offense, the egregious and inhumane sex offense. Remember, it's corporate invasion of privacy. It is monitoring surveillance and then surveillance in a bathroom. This is underway by the same entity that engaged in criminal summoning itself. Summoning the demons that are gang stalking. Remember all the levels of malice. When you're engaged in criminal summoning, you're summoning the demons that I'm documenting every day, including this morning, stalking by helicopter. Yesterday, last night, stalking me by helicopter. That's the entity that Sean Thrasher, the OVITT Family Community Library, is summoning while they are together engaging what is monitoring my vagina at the same time, making allegations that, again, Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks use in court, such as molesting children. They are together engaging in the same conspiracy, and that level of malicious allegations regarding pedophilia itself is relevant to the entity that is engaged in the same pattern of conduct. These are malicious allegations that the Tracy Banks and the state of California are actually guilty of pedophilia. Okay, and while the entity has made those allegations while they were monitoring me in the bathroom, engaging in sexual violence that I'm documenting, that they are engaging in both the Ontario Police and the OVITT Family Community Library, including Sean Thrasher, monitoring my vagina. Understand the level of allegations is speaking to the admission by the entity that's gang stalking. And then engaging what is criminal summoning. That's speaking to an unfathomable level of malice while you're calling the gang stalkers the Ontario Police, while you are a gang stalker and you are the one guilty of the malicious assertions that you made in order to commit a kidnapping. I'm referring to June 16, 2022. And I documented the entirety of that day, and the entities engaging in what is making malicious assertions that are proven to be false in my documentation, while I'm ceaselessly documenting by podcast and images and in video, including the entity that is gang stalking me, and then the pattern of conduct that is underway in places like bathrooms, and the entities engaging in what is stating that on this day I am molesting children, and that's why they engaged in an arrest, which is totally made up. Okay, so I was documenting every moment. The entity is monitoring my vagina. Impossible light activity is remaining inside of that bathroom, and the city of Ontario is stalking with light activity, monitoring while that homosexual goes inside as the entity maintaining activity, gang stalking. 5 FUV 286 is a sex offender monitoring, and it's AAA. That's at the same parking garage of the downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, which is right here at the same OVITT Filming Community Library, where I'm showing you the fake sun at 7:38 in the morning. And as I walk out where Elvira is gang stalking on the stage with a microphone at the Route 66 show, where the city of Ontario is gang stalking with her, gang stalking with Route 66, gang stalking as an entire city, monitoring in that specific environment and covering up the fake sun, doesn't mean that the sun ceases to exist today and that it went to engage in what is setting somewhere else. And that means that there is no evidence of a specific environment, and that the previously documented supernatural occurrence of the sun being here when I walk out at 6 p.m. is going to be erased from the record, and it's not. This is the entity that's engaging with its bathroom monitoring, and AAA is stalking in the path with light activity, just like the sex offender Stater Brothers is yesterday, with impossible light on the truck in relevant position while the fake sun's outside of the same entrance where it is as I walk in at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. This is just like I'm documenting the entity that's stalking with light activity of the Ontario Police that are gang stalking at 12:53 in the evening. The entities engaging what is stalking with light activity like the city of Ontario is the day before yesterday when I'm walking out under the fake sun and they're monitoring my vagina while, again, homosexuals walk into the bathroom, homosexuals interested in my vagina, keeping it under surveillance, wanting to be near me while I'm in the nude, in the bathroom, engaged in private space where there's no legitimate interest by the government. And why are you engaging in surveillance at that time, in that moment, in that space, while you're nothing other than an obsessed psychopath? This is what Sean Thrasher is guilty of. Sean Thrasher is also engaged in kidnapping and making malicious assertions. ARMYSON is a sex offender monitoring with AAA, monitoring my vagina, gang stalking with the city of Ontario with the entity that's engaged in surveillance in the bathroom, and that includes the entity that I'm documenting it. So I want to be clear. This is the entity that's engaging in what is that ceaseless pattern of conduct. The Ontario Police that are gang stalking me at 8:40 this morning are gang stalking me, keeping me under surveillance, that is, including while the entity enters the bathroom in the specific environment. The entity is following you around in the specific environment. They're stalking when a fake sun is remaining over a building all day long. And when you are aware of that evidence and you don't want people like Elvira being reminded about her gang stalking, and you cover up the fake sun in the morning and you're engaging in the same pattern of conduct, which does not remove Elvira as a defendant in this ongoing federal case, you are engaging what is evidence of Title 18 federal stalking with the intent to obstruct justice. It's not removing any defendant. It's not removing evidence. It doesn't stop the P.O.C. Clearly, they're engaging in it. And engineer light outside of what is the fake sun remains inside of the library. It doesn't even have anything to do with the fake sun. The engineer light that's on the walls inside of that library doesn't have anything to do with the fake sun. The engineer light that's walking when they have multiple shadows on the floor inside of a library doesn't have anything to do with the fake sun. The engineer light inside of the bathroom where I have double shadows and triple shadows that grow inside, magnifies, has nothing to do with the fake sun. This is engineer light where these demons are stalking in the bathroom. They follow into the bathroom. That's exactly what this homosexual did. Okay? And she does so on behalf of the Ontario Police. She does so on behalf of predators like Sean Thrasher, who committed kidnapping, and that's federal prison. Also understand that they are specifically aiding Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks, who are in court, defaming my character, making claims that I'm abusive to children, and that first of all, that I'm even married to Jason Fields in the first place, that I'm abusive to children. I don't even have any kids, and I've never been abusive to children. But these are allegations that Tracy Banks, a pedophile, is guilty of. She's the pedophile. She's the sex offender. And it's the same with Jason Fields, a sex trafficker. It's the same with the state of California engaging in sex trafficking while I'm a child. with Tracy Banks. Criminal conduct by the state that and then gang stalking me because they thought that I was going to end up so psychologically tortured and harmed that I wouldn't be able to formulate sentences and have my nouns and my verbs agree and formulate sentences to communicate my ideas and prove. The entity is engaged in what is gang stalking, and they're the predators, and it's relevant to the allegations that this entity made on June 16, 2022, acting in conformity to Jason Isaac Field's conspiracy to steal and murder, 7FXU913, and kidnap, wanting to kidnap somebody that they're falsely depicting as a pedophile when he and Tracy Banks and the state is a pedophile. That's a fact. All right, AAA is gang stalking at the parking garage, creating flashing light. Just like the city of Ontario, just like Stater Brothers yesterday, where Elvira is monitoring my vagina. Okay, where the city of Route 66 is monitoring my vagina. And they're engaging in surveillance in the bathroom, and that's relevant to my vagina, where the entity wants to engage in surveillance at that state. The amplified audible activity in the bathroom when my legs are spread apart, what is that about? Nothing other than my vagina. And this is what Sean Thrasher is keeping under surveillance. Sean Thrasher, that is engaged in documented acts of obstruction of justice and is still to date keeping my vagina under surveillance, and there is no statute of limitations. You engaged in kidnapping with this entity, you're going to federal prison, because so is the Ontario Police, meaning you're going to federal prison just like this entity. This is what the entity engaged in, and they're still monitoring. Sean Thrasher is a violent sex offender, and he's going to federal prison for engaging in what is kidnapping, like I documented, upon malicious assertions about pedophilia that this entity has committed against me. Oh, yes, you're going to federal prison, and so is Jason Isaac Fields, and it's not a coincidence, this is my point, that they make that level and that same allegation in conformity to the pattern of conduct, maintaining a secret and fake conservatorship and a fraudulent marriage to me in order to defame my character and court hearings that I'm not a part of and I don't know anything about regarding wealth that belongs to me, and this entity through defamation and things such as pedophilia that they're accusing me of, that they are guilty of. And this is why this OVITT Family Community Library, that's a sex offender, made those allegations in June of 2022. You're going to prison for that. The gang of demons under the fake sun. Remember, Elvira's under this fake sun at 6 yesterday, and they're under that fake sun on June 16, 2022 at 10:29 in the morning. Guess who's going to prison? The gang stalkers under that fake sun at 10:29 a.m. They're all going to federal prison, and so is Daisy, so is Thrasher, and everybody else that engaged in criminal summoning relevant to the people of the state that are claiming that I did something to their child, claiming that they are the ones that called the police, claiming that they had a complaint against me. They're all going to prison, and one of their names is Daisy. Daisy's going to prison. She can run, she can hide, she can go, she can move jaws, she can go to a different county. You're not running from the long arm of the federal court, and you're going to prison. Just like the entity engaged in kidnapping me and defaming my character, I have handcuffs put on me, you're going to prison. And so are the demons of the Ontario Police Department, and they're still monitoring my vagina. And the entity's keeping a fake sun where Elvira is gang stalking at this Ontario Town Square, which is the same library, it's the same property, speaking to non-movement of a fake sun, where Route 66 is sharing in that pattern of conduct like I documented yesterday. Okay, and the inhumanity of that violent sex offense is underway, including while the library is monitoring through a homosexual as an entity entering into the bathroom, following me in, and doing so, stalking as I enter in. The gang stalkers are pacing in alignment, entering into the bathroom as I enter into the bathroom, including the males. They are waiting at the door and walking in the males' restroom as I walk into that's called stalking in the path. That's what demons do. This is what the fake sun does. As you see me moving and the fake sun moves, that's what the demon possessed are doing as I walk, as I move around. They're stalking in the path, just like the fake sun does, as I show you. That's the entity that's engaging in that conduct. Molesting with impossible light, which is occurring inside of the library, following me into a bathroom, which is stalking inside of the library, stalking inside of the bathroom, and also engaging in psychological torture and making allegations that are not only false, but malicious and bombastic, in addition to what is engaging in kidnapping with the Ontario Police, who are on a daily, nightly basis stalking me. So you summon the stalkers because you intended to engage in kidnapping in order to maintain a paper trail so that Tracy and Jason can steal my property. You're all going to prison. Every single last one of you. In 2025, they're still monitoring my vagina. It's literally a perpetual sex offense that Sean Thrasher, I want to be clear, is guilty of, and he's going to prison for it. Any terrorist that's engaging in kidnapping with any terrorist organization like Ontario Police, you're going to federal prison. The entity cannot do it without the people of the state. This is P.O.C, and it is currently, by the way, 4:11 p.m. and the fake sun is right here over the same venue where it is in the morning when I'm walking in and Southwest Airlines is stalking by commercial plane. As I'm walking into the entrance, the Ontario Police Department is stalking by helicopter. While I'm walking into this entrance, the people of the state are gang stalking, pacing like psychopaths around this turn circle while I'm walking into the entrance. The fake sun is still here. You already know that it's still here. I'm capturing it well after 6 p.m. where I'm documenting the same entity gang stalking under the fake sun that's never going to Florida. It's not even going to Los Angeles. It's not even leaving beyond C Street, beyond Euclid Avenue, when it's still in alignment to me as I capture in images and video regularly. This is P.O.C. capturing the fake sun right now where I am at the same entrance. This is the pattern of conduct. And that's the entity that's, again, inside of the bathroom monitoring like I'm documenting on podcast. And a population, the traffic, those are demons monitoring my vagina. They share in that surveillance. And those are the community of sex offenders gang stalking on the roads and the highways, gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport, gang stalking as they're engaging in surveillance at the Ontario Town Square, gang stalking while they're monitoring in the bathroom at a fake church, gang stalking everywhere at all times. And you're going to prison for kidnapping upon being a sex offender and then making allegations regarding what you are guilty of, what you've committed. Those type of terrorists are going to prison. License 6 GHM 384, a sex offender monitoring my vagina with impossible light at the Ontario Town Square where the fake sun is still present at 4:12 p.m. All right. Also understand Securitas is a gang stalking sex offender monitoring for years, and the entities engaging in what is the pattern of conduct in that specific environment, which is corroborating evidence, and its supernatural character is evidence that is unmistakable with regard to who a population is indeed targeting. Okay, so that's the entity. That's how you're going to recognize the purpose of that fake sun documentation, and it doesn't matter when the demon possessed are monitoring, like Amazon, driving license 9PMN 441, getting into the vehicle, engaging in surveillance. Wearing an Amazon vest, driving a private vehicle, not an Amazon vehicle, 9PMN 441 gang stalking, and is doing so under the fake sun. That's getting brighter in my face as I'm reciting the legal analysis in order to prosecute Sean Thrasher and everybody else that is going to federal prison for their very idiotic defendant that is proving that they were engaged in criminal summoning, including while the Ontario police are stalking me day and night, including at that OVITT Family Community Library, which is the fate of everybody that engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario police. They have failed in the purpose of gang stalking me in the first place. And they're also idiotic, lacking self-control and any ability or any plan B regarding when their targeting doesn't work in the way that they intended. So all they did was engage in the provision of more evidence that they're targeting me in the first place. And that's putting everybody where they belong in federal prison, that put their hands on me, that stole my property, that defamed my character. License 9 TIY 447, that entertained fake cases in courtrooms, that engage in all those types of defendants, they're all going to prison. And the Ontario police stalking me, terrorizing me, and engaging in psychological torture, doing so also while they know that I am documenting, meaning it's not a coincidence while I'm uploading and you begin stalking by flying around me in a helicopter while a bunch of psychopaths look to the left and right like it's not happening, while they're all under the fake sun and an engineer light calling it a Route 66 show, car show. Those are the demons that are gang stalking with that entity, and they're going to prison. That's the bottom line. They're all going to federal prison. It is currently 4:14 p.m. This is bathroom monitoring. This is P.O.C. where the Ontario International Airport is stalking at the same venue where the fake sun was present at 7 in the morning. And you already know that the Ontario International Airport is stalking me in particular because Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, Alaska Airlines are gang stalking at this same address with Paul Leon, by the way, at 303 East B Street. Where the mayor's gang stalking, the mayor's losing that position in office, okay? This is the same exact specific environment where the entity is flying miles away from the airport. There's no takeoff, 4.5 miles away from the airport, still hovering in the sky space when you're supposed to be taking off from the terminal right there at the airport at 2500 Airport Road. That audible noise and that low hovering elevation is pursuant to targeting. And they're doing that everywhere, including over Economy Inn, over the 60 freeway, including over me on the sidewalk wherever I'm walking in Ontario. The entities engage in what is clear targeting, and they also do so pursuant to what I refer to in the moment that I refer to it. And those are also the foolish demons that provide evidence against Sean Thrasher, where I'm targeted outside, where I'm targeted inside, and also targeted in the bathroom. And he's going to prison for engaging in kidnapping with the city of Ontario, and thought that making those allegations would sit on the record, waiting to be acted upon in a federal prosecution. He's going to prison for that. There's no coincidence there. You come up with the most extreme false allegations, such as pedophilia. Oh, it's very clearly known who the pedophiles are right now, by the way. The federal government knows who the pedophiles are, and they also know what the entity intends to by making those similar and equally false and malicious allegations. Also, while you're all gang stalking at the same time. Sean Thrasher, the City of Ontario, the Ovitt Family Community Library, is fully engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct in conformity to what Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks needs. With the Ontario Police, lying on my character, falsely depicting me as one that's a criminal or one that's mentally ill, lying through and through, and they're all mentally ill while they're engaging in this demonic, psychopathic P.O.C. who was stalking in a plane and a helicopter, somebody that is clearly deranged. Clearly deranged. And this is an entity that's doing so as a gang. That's also mental illness, all together collectively agreeing to engage in stalking one person in the most absurdly demented manners, like the demons that are sitting around stalking at the Ontario Town Square, studying their communication devices, sitting under a fake sun, gang stalking all day long, somebody that they don't even know, but the demons in them know me, and that's why they're engaging in that. And their knowledge of me is proven through a fake sun that sits over the same address for 12 hours while they take shifts stalking day and night, including with the City of Ontario by planes and helicopters. And it's public corruption because they bring their little demon-possessed children as well, playing around, holding hands, playing dodgeball under the fake sun, monitoring with the entity that's maintaining all manner of activity, traffic, plane, and helicopter. P.O.C. It's currently 4:17 p.m. That's the sex offense underway inside of the Ovitt Family Community Library. This is Ontario PD. Just want you to see they're stalking repeatedly like I just documented. Okay. Trying to dip and dash and dodge away. These demons are gang stalking with their kids, having their kids run around me, monitoring on the on my device. And the Ontario police are flying back and forth while I'm uploading my podcast. This is crossing path. This is what they're doing. This Humpty Dumpty is gang stalking while they're pacing all around, playing with their children, gang stalking, and the entities monitoring on the opposite side where I'm at, trying to slow down on the Ontario Wi-Fi. This is federal stalking while the police are gang stalking with them. And this is serving Jason Isaac Fields. These are the demons that engage in taking PPP loans out of my name. These are the demons that engage in what's committing criminal activity, and then the entity trying to set me up for it. These are also the demons sitting around gang stalking with the Ontario police who are terrorizing, targeting everywhere. And these are the ones monitoring my vagina, which Sean Thrasher engaged in kidnapping with when they make false allegations. Jason Isaac Fields is also paying the demons that are keeping me under surveillance with money that he stole. And he is in real time engaged in monitoring as sure as they are gang stalking together. Fields is going to prison. Okay, and this is impunity that Fields represents while he is engaged in gang stalking in real time and doing so pertaining to what he claimed was an investigation, and it never was. He's still targeting with the Ontario police that are stalking by helicopter and the Ontario International Airport as I update my podcast. It's currently 5:06 p.m. and I just updated it at 5:04 p.m. after the entity. This demon right here stalking in close proximity, underage demons monitoring with their parents. This is all surveillance where I'm showing you the entity that's keeping the fake sun as I walked out at 4 p.m. It's still here. The entity's covering it up and stalking by that same department. The entity's engaging in this while I'm updating my podcast, which is relevant to Sean Thrasher's malicious allegations regarding pedophilia that Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are guilty of. The state is guilty of. And Jason Isaac Fields is engaged in what is ongoing threat to my life, trying to accomplish murder as an entity, still targeting and relying on the terrorists of the Ontario PD, who clearly have no problem targeting on behalf of Fields. Fields is going to prison. Okay? This is a gang stalker. Fields is going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is 5:07 p.m. Demons flying over again, gang stalking. This is a demon that's stalking perfectly in alignment with me. That's a demon that's engaged in that perfect alignment. This is what the entity does under a fake sun that keeps in alignment with me. That's gang stalking with the Ontario police, who are also targeting by the Ontario International Airport, maintaining flight right here. Monitoring with the intent to obstruct justice while I upload the podcast at 4:55, 5 p.m. by the airport and the Ontario police. Doing so again as they're scurrying along, trying to escape vision while I am documenting demons that are surrounding me and in an attempt to also stop me from uploading it on the internet. Crossing path again with the intent to obstruct justice. This is the entity that engages in psychological torture and provides a wealth of evidence, which is putting Jason Isaac Fields in prison. Jason Isaac Fields has been engaged in gang stalking and thought that targeting me was going to successfully accomplish his theft of my property and supporting the defamation that he engaged in furtherance of murder. While he's engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario police, defamation with the Ontario police, and also theft of my money and property with the Ontario police, including the people of the state that are demons stalking me in the path. okay? Psychopaths that keep their back to you, and psychopaths that stalk you in a helicopter. The entity's doing so all day and all night, stalking me where I am coming from my hotel room, coming to the library, going to the Starbucks and sitting at the bench. The demons that are gang stalking me overnight, like C. Hazelwood and everybody that's engaged in that, they're doing so on behalf of Jason Fields, the federal government that's engaged in gang stalking. There's no legitimate investigation, and Fields is acting with impunity. This demon has a level of confidence, and so do the delusional demons that are providing evidence of state targeting as well, and they're all going to prison. This is the already foregone conclusion. I'm documenting it because Fields is not getting out of prison, and he is specifically going to be put in what is the ward area. This is a psychopath. He is psychopathic with regard to his maniacal, ongoing, continuous, and delusional engagement with the Ontario police who share that mental illness. This is P.O.C. It's currently 5:30 p.m. This is ongoing psychopathic pacing in a helicopter, and I am indeed the target. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:30 p.m. They're monitoring the evidence right now that I'm uploading onto YouTube, by the way, with regard to the federal stalking on my device on the internet, on Ontario Wi-Fi. P.O.C. All right, the two videos that I just captured, the Ontario Police is engaged in what is the classic method of psychological torture. This is relevant to Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government's purpose in targeting with the state in the first place. And this is relevant to real-time knowledge of documentation as well. This is getting to impunity. This is getting to the criminal activity of C. Hazelwood, serial numbers 21167, and Ravanko that are engaging in targeting at 5 o'clock in the morning at 415 North Euclid Avenue. You can hear the helicopter. This is, again, I'm capturing two videos at 5:07, another at 5:30. The entity is gang stalking with the people of the state who are also intentionally engaging in what is the provision of evidence. This intentional conduct with knowledge that it's being documented is directly relevant to the impunity exhibited by the entity that is the state of California, the Ontario Police Department, even Tracy Banks, including the entity that is engaging in no lawful investigation at the outset, and that is pursuant to what is criminal conduct targeting me by Jason Fields, Eric Spencer, Tracy Banks, the entity that's calling in people that I formally befriended regarding what is defaming my character, while the entity is engaging in what is very noticeable, obvious and continuous engagement in what is conduct that I'm documenting pursuant to what is targeting. So the entity is engaging in targeting, and the entity is engaging repeatedly targeting by pacing back and forth by helicopter, doing so as I capture video, then doing it again, and as I capture it, doing it more and more. That's a psychological torture tactic, and that doesn't work on me, but I want to be clear, it's relevant to the entity that has a desire for me to document more and more. This is an entity that is communicating an unlawful threat in doing so. The entity that is subject to federal prison: C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, L. Edwards, A. Casada, Alex Escobar, what is also Jason Fields, C. Hazelwood, engaging in what is criminal summoning again at 5 the other morning, pursuant to stalking that the entity is openly engaging in. And so does C. Hazelwood by writing out a citation while you're gang stalking. It's totally illegitimate, and this is the entity that's engaging in that with impunity. That's what's relevant regarding the two videos, and the entity doing so again. As I'm capturing the second video, as you are looking at it published online, the entity is stalking in the path, in the field, this Latino male with his back to me. The entity is engaging in what is another iteration, stalking by monitoring. Remember, the audible activity in the engineer light is how you're monitoring. Monitoring is pursuant to stalking. You are always in my path, meaning you are following me around and remaining around me, which is what the government is doing. It is stalking, it is gang stalking, it's demonic, and it is criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. This is what the federal government, this is what Jason Fields is acting and conspiring with the Ontario Police, who do so a third time as I capture the people of the state. And the entity at the same time, like I documented this morning, this is what the entity did right now. The entity that covered up the fake sun this morning, and I captured video at 8:40 a.m., the entity is engaged in what is causing the engineer light to, the fake sun, uncovering it, if you will. And the engineer light, the orange, quote unquote, sunlight begins shining as a big African-American woman and a minor child walk right in front of me. This is the entity that is, again, asking to be documented. This is the entity that's engaging in psychological torture and harassment, doing so with knowledge that they're being documented. This is the entity that's engaging in what is inviting that threat and doing so while they are anticipating you to document that. And this is why I'm uploading also on the venue of the internet. This is the entity that's doing so, I want to be clear, this is Jason Isaac Fields that is engaged in targeting the entire time, admittedly so, but never engaging in what is a lawful investigation. Jason Isaac Fields is engaged in ongoing, what is relevant regarding knowledge of his intent, his unlawful intent, and the malice with which he is targeting, not investigating. The impunity of the Ontario Police is clearly evidence of what is targeting by the Ontario Police and not any sort of criminal activity on my part, nor any investigation on the part of the Ontario Police Department, who have not engaged in any inquiry regarding any criminal conduct. They've not engaged in any interrogation. They've not inquired about any criminal acts that I've committed. They've engaged in criminal summoning pursuant to false allegations, harassment, and obstruction of justice at Starbucks. They've engaged in what is kidnapping pursuant to what is the entity entertaining false allegations, which is Jason Isaac Fields' engagement in what Tracy Banks is doing with this same department on May 29, 2025, criminal defamation, making up a prescription, making up that I am have a history of mental illness and that I'm having some mental illness fit in her apartment, engaging in what is stating that I am in need of medical care, things like I have been raped, when I want to be clear, the sex offender is Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields themselves, I want to be clear, and the government that's engaging in that documented kidnapping on May 29, 2025. However, those allegations have nothing to do with what Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in pertaining to what the federal government would claim it's investigating regarding my inability to take control and have custody of my property and my money. None of this is relevant to an investigation that the federal government is holding while they are engaging in what is gang stalking me, while the Ontario Police is not conducting any investigation of me. The Ontario Police are engaged in what is targeting me, and they're doing so while the Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government, is sitting back monitoring me, watching and engaging in psychological torture with them. Remember, these are demons who maintain what is a malicious intent. I've given the information regarding that because Jason Fields is engaged in witchcraft. He's engaged in spiritually attacking, and he does so in concert with the demons, like they are now repeatedly flying, stalking, harassing, and torturing with helicopter activity, the hallmark, as I've shown you in the specific environment, which is shared by every other law enforcement agency that I've documented gang stalking. Jason Isaac Fields is not engaged in any investigation. There was never any basis to investigate. There's no basis to investigate when I'm not a part of the hearings, when it is a violation of my due process rights, when it's pertaining to property that I was never told about, property that Jason Fields and Tracy Banks and this entity has already stolen as well. The entity is engaging in what is a distraction from the germane issue, which is, first of all, my investigation about being targeted in the first place, while I've been subject to repeated kidnappings by the same agency that is targeting me at the Ontario Town Square, and doing so pursuant to what is obvious targeting by the state and no investigation by the federal government, no investigation by Jason Fields, who is monitoring me and is engaging in what is seeking to incite violence and harm to me, while he is monitoring and engaging what is targeting with the city of Ontario, the state of California, while demons walk right in front of me while the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is the African-American woman. I'm going to upload her images to the Google Drive. The entity is engaging in conduct as though it's more threatening when a black girl is gang stalking me as opposed to a white woman, or opposed. This is the racist entity that's engaging in what is the intent to harm while they know that they're being documented. That's obstruction of justice, which Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in while he is gang stalking, not investigating. You are clearly not investigating when the Ontario Police are not inquiring me about any criminal act or any alleged criminal activity. And there is no mental illness clearly while I'm documenting targeting by the city of Ontario. There has been no evidence of any mental illness. There's been no history of mental illness. There's also no evidence of any criminal activity nor history of it. And there's been no investigation by the federal government, nor was there ever any intention to. The entity is abusing the position that Jason Isaac Fields was given. He is incompetent. Professionally, he is also mentally incompetent. This is a malicious psychopath that has been engaged in a prolonged endeavor to delay justice, to get away with stealing my property and to avoid federal prison, and also protect the rest of these corrupt federal and state officials who've engaged in what is sex trafficking me as well, who've engaged in what is trying to conceal adoption, who's been engaged in trying to conceal a murder that this entity, including Tracy Banks, have committed with the intent to steal my money and property. That's what Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in. While he is, again, it is relevant that he's a psychopath, he is practicing witchcraft, and he's again engaged in what is spiritually attacking me and psychological torture relevant to, this is somebody that is spiritually attacking and is repeatedly engaging in what is taunting, convinced that he's going to get away with targeting me as a corrupt official while the Ontario Police are engaging in what I'm documenting and putting it on YouTube and on my X and on my website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com. This is the simultaneous conduct of Jason Fields, who is corrupt, and you also have tangible evidence of that. But I want to make sure that it's clear regarding Jason Isaac Fields' malice, and he is still acting in furtherance. He is interested in protecting Tracy Banks because Tracy Banks has information about him that he is fearful of coming out because of criminal conduct, because of his corrupt acts that he has already committed. They've been engaged in long-term criminal activity and targeting me for a very long period of time, and he is not under any circumstances engaging in any investigation. And by the way, what I've documented, what the so-called investigation would entail is observing the absence of any investigation by the Ontario Police Department. They've engaged in what is targeting me at 5 o'clock in the morning about the municipal code that doesn't apply, okay? They've engaged in targeting me, stating that an alarm went off at the property when they're engaged in gang stalking. As I have broken down that pattern of conduct, they are making up allegations while they are making up information as to why they are always in my presence pursuant to that pattern of conduct that I have broken down regarding the public investigation of this state. And this is the state that is targeting with the federal government, which Jason Isaac Fields is a part of, and he is doing so pursuant to what would already be a concluded investigation if it was that in the first place, and it's not. And it's also relevant that he is the same one that engaged in a fraudulent marriage to me. He is not engaged in an investigation, neither is the federal government. It is also relevant that he's the one that's already had his hands on my real property, my intellectual property, which I have never consented to, and I did not have knowledge of it. This is what YouTube shares in as a third party, interfering with this investigation with the intent to engage in murder. While this agency is stalking and terrorizing and psychologically torturing with the impunity that you need to pay attention to. The ongoing timestamps, 5:07, 5:30 p.m., then doing it again while demons are threatening me, walking right in my face with minor children. This is a threat while you're doing so with a big black girl, which is supposed to be scarier to me than any other gang stalking demon. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct with knowledge that is being documented, and that documentation and that knowledge of that documentation is relevant to federal prison. There was never an investigation, and no competent investigation would prolong what is obvious targeting by the state because of the absence of history of everything that was alleged against me in court hearings that I was not a part of. You do not engage in this prolonged engagement in what is permitting an American citizen to be targeted in the way that I've already proven, and also to do so plainly in the way in which the city of Ontario is doing so in the face of the federal government that's gang stalking me. Okay, the entity is doing so, and it's relevant. I want to be clear. It needs to be known because before Jason Isaac Fields goes to federal prison, before every demon gang stalking me of the Ontario Police Department go to federal prison, it needs to be known that these demons are, again, they're engaged in witchcraft, and they engage in what is spiritually attacking before they engage in the physical targeting conduct, such as stalking in a helicopter, the audible activity, the relevant positioning in the specific environment. They do so together while they are aware of the fact that it's being documented. The entity is engaging in this with Jason Fields, who shares in that demonic behavior. Okay, he's engaged in spiritually attacking as an entity. He's engaged in gang stalking as an entity, and the entity is doing so with knowledge of the fact that there is no legitimate investigation. Jason Fields, the federal government, is permitting this targeting in an effort to get away with the criminal activity that they've already committed, the criminal activity that Tracy Banks has already committed. I want to be clear, these are serial killers. They've committed murder in order to get away with stealing my money and property. They've engaged in this while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct with knowledge of the fact that I'm documenting it at the same time. And gang stalking is supposed to be some sort of distraction from what the actual germane issues are pertaining to who is my biological parents if it is not, in fact, Tracy Banks. And that is a reasonable question that needs to be addressed. And delaying justice by claiming that you're engaged in an investigation, which is clearly not the case, because the entity's conduct, such as targeting in the ways in which I've shown, is relevant to what would be suspect if there were an actual investigation by the federal government, by Jason Isaac Fields, who, by the way, is already conflicted. The federal government has no general interest, no genuine interest, rather, in having an investigation by somebody that is engaged in the criminal acts committed against me. Why would he be engaged in an investigation when he's the one that has a fraudulent marriage to me on paper? Why would he be engaged in an investigation when he's the one that's living in my property, living in my house, stealing my money, and doing so pursuant to court hearings that I don't have? This is somebody that should not even have anything to do with an investigation. He should be a part of who is being investigated as a part of having any part in it in an investigation. In addition to that, I want to be clear, the entities engaged in gang stalking in real time, you hear that plane activity? The competent investigation of the City of Ontario, the State of California, will also include what are the ordinary steps with regard to the process of taking off from airports, because the entities engaging in surveillance, and it includes planes and helicopters in the specific environment, which I've also shown. We're at 224 North Euclid Avenue. We're at what is 5:49 p.m. The entity is maintaining plane activity hovering over me, which is pursuant to monitoring on my communication device. And doing so, it's legally relevant while I'm engaged in creating documentation to enforce my rights against a government that's conspiring against my well-being, my safety. And that is relevant to the ongoing repeated kidnappings and malicious assertions, and also exercise of authority that they don't have while they're stalking. They being the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police Department, stalking in helicopter at 5 p.m., 5:07, and 5:30 p.m. It's actually like 5:28 p.m. because the camera that I'm using, the timestamp shows the time when the video ends. So it ends at 5:30, meaning I started at or around 5:27, 5:28. Nonetheless, I want to be clear, this entity is acting with that level of impunity, and there's no investigation when the federal government is observing this. When the federal government is seeing that, the federal government is looking at what I'm exposing as a pattern of conduct. The federal government is not looking at that in a vacuum. You're looking at what LAPD is doing and the environment that they're doing it in. You're looking at what is the entity that is targeting me while I am a law-abiding citizen. The entity is doing so with regard to what is a history of documentation that I have pertaining to false allegations and kidnappings, while the entity is deviating from the rules of the court, how the criminal justice system operates, while the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking the entire time, including at the courts. The entity is engaging in this with real-time knowledge of that documentation. So while you're hearing the entity targeting in real time, because this is what Alan D. WAPNER is engaging in, and this is what I want to be clear, psychopaths like Jason Fields, while they are targeting me in relevant position, Jason Isaac Fields, the entity that are demons that practice witchcraft, it is relevant to his malicious intent toward me, his disingenuous representation of himself and his interests and his intent toward me. And that is also obvious by what is the tangible evidence of him having a fraudulent marriage to me. So I want to be clear, the federal government permitting some sort of quote-unquote investigation that Jason Fields has anything to do with is the federal government that's gang stalking me. All right, he is not competent, he's conflicted, and he's not engaged in any investigation, nor would he when the entity is targeting with Tracy Banks. The entity is targeting with Tracy Banks, who has yet to turn over property that belongs to me. Money and property that is turned over and left to me in a will, left to me in a trust, left to me in what is a not only a trust fund, but what would be a policy, like an insurance policy. This is property that has my name on it. This demon stole my identity, walked into courtrooms acting like she's me. And I want to be clear, where you have the government targeting like Jason Isaac Fields is, like the Ontario Police, the state of California is, the entities engaging while they're entertaining court hearings outside of my presence. They're not doing so ignorantly, not knowing that this 60-year-old woman is me. I don't look 60. I don't look like a 60-year-old woman who's trying to look like she's 50. There is no close comparison to Tracy Banks and myself. We're not the same height. We don't speak the same. We don't conduct ourselves in the same manner. And there's no manner of witchcraft that is going to provide any sort of excuse to a court under the law regarding what is, under all circumstances, an unlawful exclusion from what I have a right to be a part of. And the entity is engaging in what is incompetence, claiming that you don't know that Tracy Banks is pretending to be me while I'm being gang stalked at the same time, and the federal government is claiming to be maintaining an investigation. The investigation includes the City of Ontario clearly targeting, and the City of Ontario is clearly targeting with a population of people who have shared in that criminal activity against me. I have never, not one time, taken out a PPP loan. I don't even know what that acronym stands for. I've never taken out a PPP loan. The only loans that I've ever taken out in my own name were to finance my education, and I have the proof of that, which is my law degree, and literally my California bar that I took, financing that through my school loans on my own credit. Okay, I don't take out things like 1, 2, 3 ABC Wednesday loans. That's the state of California that's gang stalking me by police and by fire and by ambulance and by the airport in the city of Ontario and the state of California. I've never taken out a PPP loan, but you have evidence of the entity engaging in that. That's the entity that's gang stalking, including through the airport in the city of Ontario. There are no pilots taking off from Terminals 2 and Terminal 4 and hovering over the Ontario Town Square. That in and of itself, look at a map and look at the distance. And also you're talking about what is necessary with regard to this investigation regarding public corruption is what is entailed in a takeoff from an airport. If you don't know that, then that is relevant to recognizing targeting, and that's why I pointed out. In addition to what is clear on its face, the sun is here over me at 7 in the morning. The sun is here over me at 6 in the evening, where I'm showing you ongoing public nuisance conduct by both the airport and the police Police Department who are acting with a noted and relevant level of impunity, where they know that the federal government is not investigating either. That's why that's relevant. Because you wouldn't provide that level of obvious targeting. And it is obvious with regard to the body of evidence that I have. It is obvious with regard to the specific environment. It is obvious with regard to the entity that's engaging what is making up as a history, information, making up facts, if you will, in order to be in my presence in the first place. Oh, I'm here because somebody called me. Oh, I'm here because I'm going to arrest you for interfering with my investigation. And they're not investigating anything. They're gang stalking. Gang stalking is nothing other than a reference to, in the vernacular, regarding what is criminal surveillance. And it is also demonic. That is speaking to the federal government. That is relevant to what is malicious. Demons engaging in what is obvious and plain in front of your sight. And it's so plain that you will not see it. This is what I've pointed out to you throughout the entirety of the investigation. As obvious as investigating pilots taking off from airports and taking off from the Ontario International Airport and what that entails, because it will never entail hovering, and any plane activity that you hear in this podcast is not going to be included when they are not targeting me in the way in which I've shown in the specific environment, which is supernatural. In addition to that, any investigation would have already shown that you can see the entity stalking me when you're looking at an aerial view, all of the resources that the federal government has at its disposal, when you can see the entity hovering in the sky space, stalking me from behind the apartment buildings, stalking in the sky space over wherever I'm located from behind houses, and then rising up from the whatever residential street. They're not taking off from airports. A clear aerial view of surveillance by the federal government can also see the stalking conduct regarding where I'm at, and you're also looking at the aerial view regarding the fake sun that would be under whatever devices you have, because it's a low-hanging source, it's not the sun, and it's also sitting over me or whatever building I'm inside of for the duration of the day, from the east side to the west side. This is relevant to the evidence that a federal government, a competent investigation would include. Jason Isaac Fields is not engaging in any investigation. And if he is not the investigator, then this is again relevant to a demon that you need to know is targeting and is seeking to remain what is someone that is avoiding federal prison. He's not avoiding federal prison under any circumstances, but it needs to be known that this is somebody that is directly interested in the ongoing psychological torture, and he is a part, and he remains a part based on his criminal engagement in targeting in the first place. But this is somebody that is not innocent. This is somebody who is a serial killer right along with his long-term sex partner, spouse, baby's mother, wife, whatever Tracy Banks and Jason Fields have together, and they also concealed the fact that the family members, those that have left property to me and whatever their demise is, that's what the federal government is, that's what the entity seeks to avoid the federal government exposing, the federal government looking into. Gang stalking me is relevant for what I'm exposing regarding gang stalking, surveillance in the United States, and American citizens need to know that. But that is my purpose, pursuant to why the Lord allowed this to happen in the first place. I'm not preaching, follow. What I'm stating is that gang stalking is to a certain extent also a distraction, because the entities engaging in what is trying to hide people that have been murdered regarding my money and property that Tracy Banks and Jason Fields, the state of California, including the Ontario police, have already stolen and wanted to get away with stealing, and thought that gang stalking was going to be a successful effort to not only have me kidnapped and ultimately murdered, but also to distract away from what they don't want to be discussed, the fact that I am potentially an adopted child, and again, the government having access to me, being of that status, sexually violating me as a child, the entity engaging in what is targeting me as an adult, targeting me throughout my youth, but targeting me as an adult, gang stalking me, is relevant to an ongoing program of psychological torture, trying to cause me to lose my mind. That didn't work. It doesn't work. And it also doesn't work when you're documenting 5 o'clock, 5:07, 5:30 in a specific environment pursuant to a long-term pattern of conduct. The entity's always flying in circles around me. You're not flying in circles around everybody in the city of Ontario. You're not going over every apartment building and flying circles over everyone. They were never flying in circles over the 7-Eleven across the street from Woodside Senior Apartments. They were flying in circles over Tracy Banks' front door. They're flying in circles over the parking lot. They're flying in circles over G Street in a relevant position to me, speaking to targeting. And even if they were flying in circles over the 7-Eleven across from Woodside Senior Apartments, the fake sun is over the top of my head while they're doing that. I am the one that is being targeted, and that's how you identify that. Not some psychopath that thinks that where the helicopter is, that's who they are focusing on. That's what they want your surface level assessment to include. And that is not it. You're looking at the environment, which is supernatural. And that is, again, relevant to what it is that I'm exposing. And it's relevant to the malice of the demons that have committed murder, that have stolen an extraordinary amount of money and property from me, and also tried to conceal it by stealing my intellectual property, this very evidence, which is also committed in furtherance of murder. The entity that's acting with this impunity, stalking here by planes and helicopters while you are listening to me, and this is evidence that I'm putting on the internet that is also going to be relevant in federal court regarding why Jason Fields and how long he is going to federal prison, regarding the bigger picture, regarding the malice, regarding the corruption that the entity sought to conceal by gang stalking. They sought to resort in conspiracy to murder me by getting away, by in order to get away with murder that's been committed, theft that's been committed, pedophilia that's been committed. That's literally what the bigger picture is. Okay, and this is while Tracy Banks, while I'm being gang stalked, and they are permitting, and Tracy Banks is still holding on to an insurance policy. She's holding on to a will. She's holding on to a trust that belongs to Erica Lorraine Spencer. It doesn't belong to Tracy Banks. And she's doing that intentionally while the Ontario police are also intentionally targeting me, because they are hoping that I'm just going to drop dead. They're engaging in psychological torture pursuant to theft of my property. The Ontario police are engaged in that theft. Tracy Banks is a part of an entity. They are together stealing my property, and so is Jason Fields, relying on that and threatening me, I want to be clear, with these demons that are sitting around as a quote-unquote strangers targeting together. These quote-unquote strangers are, again, not strangers at all in the specific environment, not strangers at all where the government is targeting me directly, and they're also not strangers when they are the same population that know me enough to take out a loan in my name. It's not a coincidence while I'm being targeted by the state. I cannot stress that enough. The entity is doing so, and the entity is also pointing back at itself. While it's engaging in targeting with its impunity, it's directly relevant to what C. Hazelwood and Ravanko are doing at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it is gang stalking, harassment, based on what it is also that I publish on the internet, just engaging in that because they're hostile about what I publish online about an overweight homosexual that is targeting me with her boyfriend that's also gang stalking and is focused on me. And the entity calls itself engaging in an act of retaliation by just waking me up in the middle of the night and stating that I can't be wherever I'm at while you're gang stalking, and it's your fault that I'm sleeping outside in the first place, and you don't have authority under the law when you are targeting. And you're going to prison, any sheriff's department in any court, federal prison, while they engage in facilitating targeting by the Ontario police, who are acting with impunity, which is directly relevant to any sheriff's department in any courthouse, entertaining their criminal acts, which is documented. The entities engaging in this, and I want to be clear, Jason Fields is at the same time spiritually attacking, engaging in what is monitoring me in the spirit, and engaging in what is harassment and psychological torture, proclaiming that he's getting away with this, proclaiming that he's going to force me to be in his presence, he's going to accomplish what is murdering me, and getting off with my money, getting off with my property, getting off with the criminal acts that he's committed against me, much of which he has not told you about, and is counting on this very targeting, which is a distraction. It's a distraction. It's relevant. I'm going to prosecute for it, but it's a distraction because there are other relevant criminal acts that Tracy Banks and Jason Fields, the Ontario Police, the state of California, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, people in my family, Eric Spencer, Tommy Allen Banks, Leroy Lomaxis Spencer, these demons that are gang stalking and part of my quote-unquote fake family that they've committed, that they want to keep concealed. That the people of the state, they went to the extent to take out loans and engage in criminal acts to try to set me up and frame me because they are seeking to conceal criminal acts that they don't want discussed. And that's why they're also anxious and enthusiastic about engaging in what is terrorism that they're going to be prosecuted for. That's why you would engage in that, by the way. So let me connect that for you. Even though terrorism is worse, they would rather talk about that, which is federal prison, than talk, and because they are also under some deceitful idea, like there will be no negotiation with any. Jason Fields is not. I'm not negotiating. I'm not negotiating with any of them. I'm not negotiating with the department. I'm not negotiating with the city. I'm not negotiating with any single defendant. They're all going to be facing federal prison, every single last one. And also, I want to be clear: the entity is engaging in terrorism, and they would rather that be the topic than what is the entity that's engaged in murdering people, because they have. Tracy Banks has committed murder. Jason Isaac Fields is aware of it, sharing in what is murder. They're serial killers. They're rapists. They are thieves. And this is what the entity is engaged in. And the Ontario police call themselves protecting the entity by gang stalking me. This is what C. Hazelwood is engaging in by targeting me at 5 o'clock in the morning. And Ravanko, no matter that he was standing there silent, is sharing in that, and he's going to prison. Okay, I'm exposing this system, and it's relevant to what is very real criminal conduct that this entity engages in, pursuant to what is criminal conduct corruption that the entity doesn't want you to talk about outside of gang stalking. That's why you would engage in what is clearly targeting me. That's why you would have some big black-faced demon that's built like a linebacker walking toward me with the minor child, threatening me impliedly with the demons of the Ontario police. They're being disbanded for all of that. But they would rather that than talk about murder that this entity committed, than talk about theft of my property that Tracy Banks is still in custody of, and the Ontario police are gang stalking me, which is in conspiracy to murder. They would rather talk about their criminal engagement in the conspiracy to murder me than talk about murder that they've already committed. And that's the entity that doesn't reason very well. Because both of them are horrible. Both of them equal federal prison. Both of them equal disbanding. But that's the entity that calls itself protecting somebody. Fields is going to prison under all circumstances. And it needs to be known, I want everyone else to know. You already know that Tracy is a witch. You already know that she's engaged in witchcraft. They're psychopaths. This is relevant to a cult members that fill the city of Ontario, including the cult members of the Ontario police. This is a witch coven. They're in a sex cult. They're engaged in what is pedophilia. They're also engaged in what is spiritually attacking. And these demons that are engaging in the demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring, they are engaged in what is Fields is spiritually attacking. By spiritually attacking, I mean he is engaging in psychological torture. So this is a demon that's utilizing witchcraft to communicate while I'm being gang stalked by the Ontario Police Department, while I'm being accosted with impossible light, while the Ontario International Airport is targeting Jason Fields, who is a demon. He practices witchcraft. He is spiritually attacking, and he is celebrating while he's harassed. In other words, this is harassing conduct by a demon who is essentially celebrating with regard to his sending what are messages pertaining to the fact that he's celebrating that he's going to get away. He's not getting away with anything, but this is a demon's effort to try to psychologically torture and harass you, cause you to give up, cause you to be whatever these demons think, and none of it's working. I want to make sure that it's known not only is he a criminal, but he's going to be committed for the mental illness that he suffers from. A psychopath, a maniacal psychopath, stalking with the Alan D. WAPNER, stalking me with Mike Lorenz, while the entity is engaging in that, and this is the entity that also committed murder, while Southwest Airlines is sharing in that. While every airlines of the Ontario Police, every airlines of the Ontario International Airport is sharing in that, okay? So I want to make sure that that's clear. It's already exposed and it's already been stated. Jason Fields is never coming actually into my presence. And this is also exposing the reality of witchcraft, the reality of the spiritual realm where demons, I want to be clear, lurk, and they engage in spiritually dark practices like attacking you in your mind, that which the ordinary target individual is ignorant about, and is also typically overwhelmed by, and also causing you to doubt your own sanity, and then you're lied to about it by those that also are not telling you the whole truth, especially while they're a part of a demonic entity that's targeting you and causing you to think that you need to take drugs when you're being spiritually attacked. Okay, that's what demons do. That's what Satan does. Satan is a spirit. Your thoughts, okay, those thoughts that are invisible, that's relevant to the spiritual realm, thoughts that don't belong to you, that doesn't mean that you're a paranoid schizophrenic. Okay, that's not what that means. That doesn't mean that you're seeing things and you're thinking things that aren't true. No, gang stalking is real. It's not the product of paranoid schizophrenia. It's not the product of hallucinations, and I've proven the pattern of conduct. Not only that, the entity is engaging in what is spiritually attacking in order to try to manufacture the illusion of things such like paranoid schizophrenia, while they are very much indeed mentally ill, and they know that. They, being the demon possessed, that engage in targeting in this manner. And why are they doing that? Because they've committed murder. They're doing that because they've engaged in what is stealing money and property from me. They've engaged in what is trying to conceal the fact that I'm adopted. They don't want that a part of what it is that I discuss, what it is that I expose. And I want to also make sure that it's relevant. The impunity of the city of Ontario is directly proving that. It's directly proving that while you are looking into and investigating murder of people that pertaining to what would perhaps be a biological parent of mine that I don't know about, their murder, their demise. And I want to be clear, murder is what I said. You're going to look into what is a murder of what would be a biological parent that is not Tracy Banks, that I was never told about, and about money, property that was left to me by this biological parent that left it to me, not to Tracy Banks. And not only that, you're talking about what is Jason Fields' specific knowledge of it. And his motive to engage in gang stalking me on behalf of his old lady, because that's exactly what she is. That's his old lady. They've been engaged in a prolonged sexual relationship. They've been loyal and engaged in criminal conduct together. They've been committed in targeting other people together. There are people who are dead because of Jason Fields and Tracy Banks. And I am the one that they sought to target next. And I'm the one that they cannot kill off with their sex rituals. They can't kill me off with their witchcraft and their voodoo and their black magic. It doesn't work on me. And I'm both exposing that, and I'm also the reality of that, because that needs to be known. While you can't prosecute that, I understand, but it is relevant to what is a malicious and harmful intent toward me, and I'm going to expose that. It is relevant because you also already have evidence proving that they're targeting me, and it's relevant to what the entity doesn't want discussed, and that includes Jason Fields. If he's a part of any so-called investigation, that's the federal government that's gang stalking me. Jason Fields isn't investigating anything. The entity's not investigating anything, because what you would see immediately is how the Ontario police is targeting me. You can see them targeting when the federal government's engaging in a competent investigation, then you can see everything that they're doing, and where I'm at, you'll see them circulating around the perimeter of where I'm at, maintaining light activity in their police vehicles, maintaining aerial surveillance using their helicopters. This is what you would look at big picture. Even while they do so, making it appear as though they're engaging in something related to their duties, because that's how you're gang stalking as a police department. But it is going to be centered around where I'm located, while they're keeping me under surveillance, engaging in the elements of monitoring: light activity, audible activity, and relevant positioning. So while they're maintaining some sort of activity around the perimeter of where I'm at, keeping in relevant position, including under the fake sun that's remaining over me, that's what you're looking at. Amongst everybody that wants to appear as though engaging in everyday normal life, from an aerial view, all the resources that the federal government has, you can look at what is the fake sun that remains over me all day long, and that would be supplemented with my documentation on the ground of what is the fake sun that remains over me all day long. There's no question about it. And there's no question that the sun would never be in Florida while you, as the federal government, maintaining a competent investigation regarding the substantial tips that I have provided in order to aid in that. There is no investigation when the Ontario police are stalking me 7 times and 8, 9, 10 times a day in a helicopter. That's not an investigation. And the federal government knows already who is targeting me, and the federal government is a part of gang stalking me. Because the federal government shares in what is concealing my adoption, concealing what is property and my identity, concealing sex trafficking, concealing sex crimes committed against me while they're fascinated by my body. They're fascinated by the way that my mind works. They engaged in sexual experimentation on me. Gang stalking is another inhumane experimentation conducted on me, and the federal government is a part of that. So is Jason Fields, and so is Tracy Banks. She has been paid. She's profited from permitting the government to experiment on me. And I want to be clear, this is relevant to no investigation whatsoever, and it does require disbanding of specifically the Ontario Police Department, because the federal government targeting through the Ontario Police is not going to let Mike LORENZ off. This is not law enforcement. They're engaged in this system. I've exposed it, and it's also relevant to what they don't want. That's why you would engage in that foolish conduct of giving me, why would you give me so much evidence? Because they don't want you talking about what else they've committed. That's why. And that's also that's speaking to how desperate they are and how wicked and corrupt they are. Because if you would rather go down for terrorism, which equals disbanding in federal prison, and that's because you don't want to go down for murder, because you think that you're going to get out on a with lesser time and less despicable criminal conduct by engaging in the un-American conduct of criminal surveillance. That's what they think. That's their reasoning. That's the balance, the imbalance in their minds. That's the imbalanced balancing that they've engaged in. And both are intolerable, okay? But this is relevant, and it's directly relevant to Jason Isaac Fields. He is a terrorist while he is targeting with the Ontario police and engaging what is simultaneously attacking me while the Ontario police are also attacking me, gang stalking by helicopter, and bringing linebackers walking toward me with minor children, anticipating for me to document as though that's the entity that's engaging in an implied threat. Okay, I want to be clear. Just because this fat black-faced demon is doing so, that doesn't mean that the white boys and everybody else with their kids that aren't talking to me aren't threatening. They're all sharing in that threat. But I want to go ahead and communicate and document and make sure that I specifically include the entity specifically engaged in that to communicate a direct threat. And these are racist bigots of the Ontario Police Department who are gang stalking me with black people that they refer to as, excuse my French, they refer to them as niggers as well. But they're all united when they're targeting me together. But this is what they surmise in their mind, that a black girl is more threatening to me and scarier to me than some other. They're all demons, and it's not based on actual fear, which I'm not fearful of any demon, and they're all communicating and posing that same level of a threat, all of them. Whether you're with your kids, whether you're talking to me, whether you're working inside of Wells Fargo, they're all threatening together. That's what they also don't understand. The entity did so, but however, I will go ahead and note, They bring this big fat back linebacker looking female to engage in what is a threat while the entity is sounding helicopter, stalking me and monitoring and threatening me by being in my face. In other words, impliedly daring, and I'm still documenting, I'm uploading and doing it while I'm uploading it onto the YouTube channel, okay? So this is the people of the state that are fully engaged in the pattern of conduct. Everybody's engaged in the pattern of conduct when the sun is sitting over one property for 12 hours. Everybody's engaged in the pattern of conduct when the people of the state are taking out PPP loans in the name of the targeted individual. Everybody's engaged in the pattern of conduct when the people of the state are engaged in committing criminal acts and seeking to frame the targeted individual for it. Everybody's engaged in the pattern of conduct when the people of the state are being compensated by the same one that would assert that they're conducting an investigation because Jason Fields better not be engaged in an investigation of himself, because that's what it is. He's going to prison, and I want to make sure that that's clear. And he's going to prison while simultaneously asserting to be engaging in an investigation, while he's actually engaged in gang stalking and is monitoring a psychopath that is bloodthirsty, sitting back engaging in voyeurism and seeing how the Ontario police and the people of the state gang stalking the state of California targeting me. How's it affecting me? How am I responding to it? What's my process when I engage in documenting and uploading the P.O.C? That's what he's doing, and he's counting on my death because these demons, Tracy and Jason, thought that they were going to take over my platform and make money off of it. All the money that they've already stolen, all the money that YouTube has already stolen. Okay, this is what they're banking on. That's also relevant while they're engaging with what is voyeurism. It's not an investigation. It's voyeurism. It's not an investigation. It's gang stalking. It's facilitation. And Fields is going to federal prison. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. All roads lead to prison for Fields. And the entity that's gang stalking, I stated it this morning, the Ontario police acting with impunity, gang stalking again. And it's directly relevant to disbanding them because they're doing so. Why are you engaging in that obvious level of criminal conduct targeting me? Because that's exactly what you're doing. Because they don't want they think in their mind, these are demons, they're imbeciles. They don't have any logic. All they do is criminal activity, so their resolve for trying to get away with criminal activity that they've committed is to engage in more criminal activity. Because in their mind, they reason when they're not reasoning at all. We're going to engage in this, and so that way she'll never be talking about this. We'll distract and we'll monitor and harass and terrorize, and so that she will never get to that, and that'll distract her mind, and she'll be over there. This is the entity that thinks like a hamster. That's why they are projecting that, because they're hamsters. Okay, the entity is engaging in this conduct, and it is relevant to why the Ontario police acts with that level of impunity. They're going to prison, every single last one of them. That I document gang stalking me, kidnapping, every single last one. I document their badge numbers, I document their images, I get their license plates, they're going to prison. And the entity is engaging in this inhumane level of terrorism and stalking and harassment because they don't want murder discussed. And they don't want kidnapping, they don't want pedophilia, sexual experimentation by grown men and law enforcement having sex with a child, and paying the adopted mother for that. They don't want that discussed. Neither does Jason Fields, trying to protect his old lady, Tracy Banks. That's what they don't want discussed. And neither do the people of the state, who are equally invested in targeting with regard to criminal acts that they've committed as an entity. These are demons that are paid. These are demons that have incentive. These are demons that have motive. The entity is always surrounding, including in the middle of the night, which the federal government competently investigating would also pay attention to. Maintaining pedestrians is surveillance. The entity is never engaging in what is totally leaving me, even in the middle of the night. There is never a moment when nobody is engaging in what is being present in the path. Someone is always present in the path. That's a pattern in a specific environment, as I pointed out to you as well. In addition to the targeting by the city, the fire, police, and ambulance, and the airport. This is a pattern in the environment where I'm showing you at nightfall while I'm standing under a street lamp, but I have 3 shadows on the ground. That's directly relevant. You're not disregarding that. And whether you are familiar with it or not, you're not disregarding that. And you're looking at the behavioral pattern in addition to that environment that is immediately suspect. That's not normal light activity. And this is exposing what is relevant. That the fact that it is demonic is letting you know that you're dealing with highly deceptive people. People that engage in what is trickery, and they do so right in your face with regard to what you are least likely to pay attention to. And I have pointed that out to the federal government. This is not an investigation, and the federal government is subject to a prosecution for what it has enabled the state to do. Because, but for my ability to document and prosecute and enforce my rights, I'm sitting up, sleeping outside every night for demons like Hazelwood to harass me. For what? Because he's going to prison, and federal officials are also going to federal prison. for what I suffered, including as a child while I'm being raped by corrupt law officials who are gang stalking me as an adult because they don't want it discussed. You're going to prison, and that includes Jason Isaac Fields. The entities engaging in this, and they are doing so pursuant to what is pedophilia that the state practices. I'm not the only one that's been adopted, and I wasn't told that I was adopted, and I might even be wealthy, and no one told me that, but the government knows. The government also knows that I'm spiritually gifted, advanced, while trying to also defame my character. That's not a coincidence. That's not an accident. That's literally intentional. They know that I'm the exact opposite of what they stated against me while they were necessarily targeting me. While I also happen to have money that was left to me, while I just so happen to be documenting targeting by the state in an unprecedented manner. Nobody's ever heard of proving gang stalking. It's always some mysterious, unknown, whispered about, unsubstantiated conspiracy theory. And it's very real. Okay, I refer to it as gang stalking because based on familiarity, everybody's heard of gang stalking. It is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring, and that is incorporating what is the underlying crime, federal stalking under Title 18. That's incorporating the federal nature of the crime, the criminal surveillance. That's the appropriate title based on what the entity is doing, and that's how I came up with that. Federal group stalking and monitoring. The entities in doing so relevant to what is also a sidebar, and it's not a sidebar, it's also directly relevant. The entities gang stalking, the one whom they sex trafficked, the one whom they kidnapped, and in other words, kidnapped with regard to I am adopted, and I was taken from whoever my parents are, and whatever happened to them remains a mystery, and what was left to me also was kept a mystery from me while the entity's been abusing me and doing so, which is a state system. There are other children that have been subject to this as well. Children that actually don't know their identity. This is what the Ontario Police Department is engaged in. They call themselves protecting their own when they gang stalk an American citizen. They're being disbanded. This is not law enforcement. They're not only engaged in corruption by gang stalking, they're engaged in corruption and criminal activity trying to protect other pedophiles, protect other people that are sharing in the criminal system that the Ontario Police Department, that Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams are a part of in California. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's clear. That's directly relevant. When you see this level of impunity, giving me 15 videos in a day, I've documented it before, giving me just flying over me in circles for an hour, doing so while I'm clearly showing that you're targeting, flying in circles over me for 20 minutes, doing it every day, flying over my head at the bus stop, flying over my head at the Starbucks, flying over my head while I'm walking down the street, targeting. The entities engaging in this with regard to what is why, I'll tell you why, because they're pedophiles and they're also engaged in what is theft of money and property, and they don't want it talked about. Tracy Banks does not want you to talk about it. That's what she's really concerned about. This demon would rather go to prison under the false impression that she's going to get out for gang stalking sooner than she would for murder of many people. And it's the same with Tracy Banks. It's the same with the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police. And they include everybody in that ongoing competition to obstruct justice. Everybody in the state of California is gang stalking in order to conceal that. It's a statewide system. They sacrifice their own kids. They're paid by the government to include their kids in programs and have them experimented on. And their little demon-possessed kids are not advanced enough, but they're envious of those that are, and then that's very sick, but they're envious of those that are, quote-unquote, advanced, if you will, or exceptional. And that's also how you know that they're demons, because they're targeting me as a population of strangers, but they're not strangers. They know who I am. They're monitoring me before I even walk in the building. These demons know who I am. This is massive surveillance by demons who are monitoring you in the spirit, and they're also monitoring you using technology pursuant to surveillance, criminal surveillance. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison. Jason Isaac Fields is spiritually attacking. This is relevant to the harms inflicted by the Ontario Police Department, who are also demons. They're engaging in not only criminal conduct, not only a pattern of conduct, but a demonic pattern of conduct that is shared by demons like Jason Isaac Fields, who is not physically in my presence, but he is sharing in what is spiritually attacking, aiding in what is psychological torture, doing so with regard to what is an effort to conceal his criminal activity, that his co-conspirator Tracy Banks committed, for which he's going to federal prison because he helped her. He's a part of it. And that's why that's not why. He's doing it because he is an incompetent and a professionally and mentally incompetent, corrupt, filthy creature. He's a barbarian. He's an animal. He's an evil person. He's a criminal. He has no business in law enforcement. But as you're understanding, in California, in the states, law enforcement is actually enforcing what is surveillance. They're not a part of law enforcement to protect and serve. They are protecting what is their genuine identity as demons that are monitoring. And they are serving Satan in doing so. And serving one another and protecting that ongoing system. That's what they're doing. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that. Jason Isaac Fields, but this is the demon that's engaged in what is ongoing harassment while he is monitoring in the spirit with the demons of the Ontario Police. Again, these demons are together targeting. The entity starts stalking by helicopter while they are spiritually attacking at the same time. Okay, and the entity is doing so with regard to what is supposed to be your ignorance. And so I want to let you know full throttle about all the ways in which this entity is targeting me. And Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison, and he is subject to what is mental examinations because he is severely demented. Severely. And all the ways in which he has targeted me, all the ways in which he's lied to you, all the ways in which he has sought to, in the ways in which he's exhibited malice, wanting to appear one way, representing himself one way. And my documentation, the evidence that you have access to and that you already know is speaking to and showing a whole other side. This is a psychopath. This is relevant to what is multiple personality disorder. And I'm going to let you know what is the source of that because he's demon possessed. He has multiple demons. And that is what is bringing out different sides of his personality. He's a psychopath. This is somebody that needs literally mental examination. This is how you are able to target somebody and put your own self-preservation over an innocent person. And that's also somebody that's unfit to be in law enforcement. It's literally the opposite of those that are in law enforcement. The heroic mentality is to protect those that can't protect themselves. These are demons that are engaged in what is bullying and oppressing those that would expose them for criminal conduct, for that which is unfit, okay, to be even in that field. Okay, these are demons that are engaging in surveillance. It's not law enforcement. And that's the same with the entity that's targeting. The federal government has been engaged in gang stalking, not law enforcement. Okay, and they're doing so for that very reason. The entity is engaging in gang stalking. Now, I don't know if because I didn't go over there, but when I was speaking earlier, this is about 25 minutes ago. I'll say even 30 minutes ago, because I've been speaking for 49 minutes. Tracy Banks' vehicle, license 98UZ740, it looked like her vehicle crossing path. She's a stalker, and she's been stalking me since I was a child. And so now that I recall this, I'm going to openly expose it. So this is not unheard of at all. She's literally a gang stalker. She's gang stalking me inside of her apartment. She's a psychopath. Who engages in that? A mentally ill person. She is engaged in what is monitoring. She comes out of her room. She's stalking in the path. Impossible light fills her apartment. The fake sun remains over her apartment, remains over me at her apartment. That's why I open her front door. Where's the sun at? Right over her front door. Where is it rising? At 6:33. Where is it setting? At approximately 6:27 p.m. I've already documented it. She is a demon, and she's a psychopath that is stalking in her own apartment. And she's going to be prosecuted for that severely demented conduct, in addition to being a serial killer, in addition to being a pedophile, in addition to engaging in what is domestic terrorism and psychological torture, just in order that she can steal money from me, money that doesn't belong to her, while she is sitting on a trust fund. She's sitting on a will. She's sitting on an insurance policy that has my name on it. And she's doing that on purpose while the Ontario police are gang stalking at the same time. They are together targeting in sync with one another. And I saw Tracy Banks' vehicle, or at least one that looked just like it. That it was the same model, but I'm just stating I didn't go and look at the license plate, so it may or may not have been her, but it is very likely her. It was while I was discussing her. Remember what she did a couple days ago when I say her name and her license plate under the fake sun, and she immediately arrives at 415 North Euclid Avenue under the fake sun. That's what this demon does. And by the way, she's been stalking me. Literally, I would go out as a teenager or as a young adult, go to my fake friend Shanita Ramaya McLean's house, and that was Rosemead, California, Pomona, California, far from San Bernardino, where she was, far from Moreno Valley, where she was, and I would coincidentally run into her at the Wiener Schnitzel drive-thru. Like, what are you doing in Pomona, and how am I running into you? Now, again, I am very naive at that time, so I'm not like, oh my goodness, you're stalking me. I didn't make those assumptions, but now in hindsight, that all makes sense. In addition to that, doing weird things as a child, walking home from elementary school with my fake brother, Eric Spencer, and by fake, I mean he's fake as in he's gang stalking, conspiring my murder, and acting like he loves me and cares about me, and that we feel the same way as brother and sister, and he's not, and he may not even be blood related to me. But anyway, this demon is engaged in what is Tracy Banks is gang stalking, living in Philadelphia or rather visiting, and walking from Martin Luther King Elementary School back to what was one of our my great aunt's house. Okay, and these people aren't even my family. So we were in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and these, again, if Tracy Banks is not, these are people that I were told were my family. Okay, so I never questioned it. Anyway, walking home from school, and I turned around and I see Tracy. She's a psycho. She was an adult. Okay, so as a kid, she was in her 20s. Okay, in my 20s, I wasn't. It's not an excuse because you're a young adult in your 20s. It's very demented even at that young age, and she's an adult with 2 children. And I looked behind me as a little kid, and I thought it was weird then that she was like hiding behind one of those thick phone poles. And they don't really have those anymore unless you go like to the desert or something. But she was like hiding behind it, and she was staring really hard. And I saw her, and I was just thinking in my mind, why would you follow us instead of just like we're your kids? Why not just walk home with us and hold our hands? I thought it was weird then, and I think it's weird now. So I just want to be clear. She's been engaged in, again, this is a demon. So that's a monitoring spirit, and that is manifesting as mentally ill behavior, behavioral health concern, okay? And that is the concern of those that are engaging in this satanic system, and it's also relevant to the corruption. Also, they tend to engage in sex crimes against people that can't consent, taking advantage of people, especially children. Okay, that's demonic. In particular, demons are focusing their predators. They prey upon children. They want those young, innocent spirits. They want to violate them. And this is an entity that is engaging in what is witchcraft in doing so. And it's a form of sacrificing them. And then they grow up and they do that to other children. This is how you have sex offenders that fill a population, by the way. And they're all gang stalking, just so that you know. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is what Jason Isaac Fields is protecting. He's a part of it, and he's also engaging in what is gang stalking me, because this demon is and he's failing, because he's going to federal prison under all circumstances, and he's going to federal prison. The wealth of evidence that I have about the state targeting me is putting him in prison, because this is what he's doing while he is simultaneously lying about conducting an investigation, lying about having a right under the law to conduct an investigation. That's an admission in and of itself of targeting me. There was never any basis. Because you listen to lies, that doesn't give you authority to engage in what is targeting me, because that's not an investigation, it's targeting. And not only that, the so-called investigation which is targeting me was gang stalking. That's why the Ontario Police act with impunity. That's why they have a field day just stalking all day long, like no videos being captured, like it's not on the internet, like it's okay for a department to be seen clearly on its face engaging in what is questionable on its surface and in substance when I break it down regarding what demons are doing in a specific environment, which is how you're able to recognize that one specific person amongst everybody else is in fact being targeted. And they're demons in doing so. And you don't have to go too deep at all. You can clearly see that the entity is gang stalking me. It's a fact, and these demons also know it. They're also both fearful and amazed because I proved it by myself. And they thought I was going to be 6 feet under by now. Jason Fields is going to federal prison. I said it before, and the entities, every time I'm documenting video, every time I capture the entity threatening my life by stalking me by that department, Jason Fields is going to prison. He's not getting out of it at all. And what you need to know is the impunity is because this entity is a murderer. This entity is engaged in what is trying to engage in what is kidnapping that they don't want discussed, concealing my status as one that's been adopted, and that Tracy Banks is likely not even my mother. And this is relevant to her motive to kill me, steal my identity, and steal my money and property, and give it to one of her sex partners who has already been in receipt of that, while he has no business engaging in any investigation, and he should not even to date have any access to my money or property. He's sitting around gang stalking me, federal government. That's what you need to know. He is a maniacal psychopath invested in my murder because he thinks it's going to keep him out of prison, and it's not. Neither am I going anywhere. It is currently 6:34 p.m., and this is why there will be no negotiation with any government official, no department, no person, especially Fields or Tracy Banks. Neither one of them. They're both going to prison, and there is no negotiation at all. It is currently 6:34 p.m. This is P.O.C. at the Ontario PD gang stalking with California Highway Patrol under the corrupt leadership of Sean Dury, elected position, the commissioner of CHP, put in position by Gavin Newsom, who was engaged in surveillance in California as well, which is relevant to the impunity that this enemy of the United States, the Ontario Police, exhibit, while the Ontario International Airport gang stalking and California Highway Patrol gang stalking in Ontario, California, in concert with the gang stalkers, the people of the state, are documented. That's why they're also flying over the top of my head as I'm documenting again on another day. This is P.O.C. It's relevant to federal stalking, which the people share.
with the state police, the city police, and the city airport that are together engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring, gang stalking me specifically, with impunity, in furtherance of murder, with knowledge that their federal stalking is being documented. That department is being disbanded, and Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is fully engaged in this criminal pattern of conduct while the entity is engaging in a statewide P.O.C. It is currently 9:48 p.m.
All right, this is documentation. Again, remember, the entity is going to federal prison. It includes every gang stalker of the Ontario Police engaging in kidnapping, engaging in criminal summoning like Ravanko and Hazelwood. And the entity that is gang stalking by helicopter is also going to federal prison for facilitation of terrorism and furtherance of murder like they are right now. CHEVRON is gang stalking. ARCO is gang stalking. The people of the state are gang stalking at the traffic lights, maintaining the elements of monitoring, while the entity is engaging in terrorism on the roads and the highways as a whole city, a criminal pattern of conduct terrorism. 9HMW680, 7ARE508. I'm sorry, 7ARE506, 9TQG 703 or 903. I can't really see that one. You can scratch that. 61312X1. The Ontario Police is maintaining surveillance through these who are demons that engage in stalking with impossible light, that engage in stalking under the fake sun, that are engaging in stalking with engineer light right now. Everything that you hear is relevant to activity creation. These are demons. And they're also monitoring while CHP is being documented. And the terrorists of the United States, that is the Ontario Police Department, who are enemies of this country, as I'm exposing them as a terrorist targeting an American citizen who is also, which is legally relevant, enforcing her rights under the Constitution, and the domestic enemy of the Ontario Police, Mike LORENZ, and everybody employed by that agency are hostile and have exhibited that hostility through the heavy documentation of terrorizing and stalking me everywhere I am in the city of Ontario, like I am documenting again at another location coming from Ontario Town Square at what is 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the demons are flying over the top of my head on video. And I am uploading that onto YouTube, and I am uploading that onto X. And this is criminal conduct that is shared with California Highway Patrol, who is sharing in that criminal pattern of conduct in the city of Ontario. They're doing so pursuant to a pattern of conduct that California Highway Patrol is documented engaging in on the roads and the highways in other cities throughout the state of California, targeting me. The state police are engaged in that P.O.C., the same demonic P.O.C. They are another corrupt law enforcement agency under the corrupt leadership of Dervey. Sean Dervey is appointed by, again, like I stated in the video, Gavin Newsom. And this is, again, you're not ignorantly engaging in this level of corruption where you're using the airport to engage in very detailed minute-by-minute level surveillance of planes, a plane every 35 seconds. That's a lot of planes, that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of attention given to me. You don't have this level of stalking by the Ontario Police Department 24 hours a day at that. They're concerned about what it is that I'm doing in the bathroom. They're maintaining that level of surveillance. You're doing so as a pattern of conduct with a whole population that takes shifts, keeping me under surveillance while I'm literally taking a nap in the library. And they're going into a library where they don't even read. You can tell by the low intelligent quotient of the demon-possessed that are gang stalking under the fake sun and with impossible light activity. They're doing so with the entity that's engaging in this level of criminal conduct of corruption, and it requires knowledge. You're not ignorantly engaging in a pattern of conduct, by the way. It is a code of conduct. It's a common scheme. You don't coincidentally engage in a pattern amongst different cities and counties and states. This is something that, again, like I stated, the governor in Nevada and the governor in California are together sharing in with knowledge, because that's how you produce a pattern of conduct. That's how you engage in a pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in this, again, in California Highway Patrol, that is engaging in that pattern of conduct as I document it. The enemies of the United States, the Ontario Police, who are also enemies of the United States while I document gang stalking immigrants, which, again, the enemies, the Ontario Police Department, engage in what are acts of terrorism against me while I enforce what every American citizen would be interested in, deporting immigrants that are engaging in terrorism against American citizens, and doing so while they are acting with the government that's conspiring your murder. The entity that is engaging in this with the corrupt police department, an enemy of the United States, is engaged in a documented pattern of targeting me and threatening my life and safety and psychologically torturing me while I enforce those rights that all American citizens are entitled to. And they do that because they are actual enemies of this country, of the Constitution, and the principles that it is built upon. The entities engaging in this, and this is relevant to what California Highway Patrol has documented engaging in. This is not new. I've documented California CHP before. They're gang stalking me in Los Angeles and Azusa. They're gang stalking me when I am in San Bernardino County, Los Angeles, Orange County. I've documented them plenty of times in Pomona. They are gang stalking me at the Pomona Starbucks off of Temple under the fake sun in the morning. And then the entity is going to be in federal court explaining how they are under the same light source if it's not a specific environment, if they're not demons, if they're not engaging in a malicious iteration of what is public corruption, meaning it's so malicious, it's satanic, so that no one would ever know that the Ontario Police Department are pedophiles and murderers and thieves. They're going to explain how California Highway Patrol in Pomona is under the same fake sun that they keep over me on Hope Boulevard on Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, from sunrise until sunset. It will be a part of the prosecution of the demon-possessed who stalk you with a whole fake environment. And it's also going to be relevant to those who are going to be committed, because this is mentally ill conduct that is criminal in furtherance of murder by those who hate this country. And it includes Mike LORENZ in the Ontario Police Department. And also, you need to understand, it includes a population of terrorists who are the people of the state. A population of them. You hear them? Because they're engaging in terrorism. And they're doing so as an un-American group of demons. Okay? It is currently 9:59 p.m. This is going on X, and it's also going on YouTube right now. And the entity is flying over my head, threatening my life and safety as it's being uploaded pursuant to a pattern of conduct. And again, un-American companies, ARCO, that's headquartered in Los Angeles, is gang stalking. Chevron and Starbucks, that's headquartered in Seattle, Washington, is gang stalking. The entities, and those are just the venues that are right here around me. The entities doing so, I'm capturing three things. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking, and you'll see them. Remember, they're remaining over the Ontario Town Square. While I'm at the Ontario Town Square, after I exit the library, and the fake sun is at the same entrance at 4 p.m., the entity is gang stalking by plane after plane, doing so with impunity, doing so while I'm documenting. You can hear it. I'm capturing it in images. The entity's not flying anywhere else with planes. And then once I walk north up Euclid Avenue, that's when the entity is then flying over the Chevron, flying over the intersection of E Street and Euclid, which is the direction north, where you are stalking from place to place. And it's also you're stalking from place to place as I go to that next place in what is a very unique environment, such as my shadow surrounds me on the ground when I'm standing under a street lamp, when I'm even in the dark. Light manifesting out of nowhere, and demons that are driving around are shooting at a tremendous distance. Light that's coming could not be from headlights, because vehicles are not built so that we're blinding each other, engaging in what is crashes all over the place, because those are not their blinders either. Those are not their brights. The entities engaging what is dynamic engineer light, molesting me while they're stalking with light, which is what demons do. All right, this is the P.O.C. And the entities engaging in ongoing terrorism and doing so with impunity, and Jason Fields is going to prison for it. Jason Fields and Tracy Banks are enthralled with the violence that I'm documenting, but these demons wrongly expected that it was going to result in my death. They wrongly and falsely assumed that it was going to result in my being defamed, and they also anticipated that I would wind up kidnapped by the demons and the terrorists of the Ontario Police, while Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in voyeurism. He's engaging in what is monitoring me. He's engaged in what is sitting back and watching, not investigating. He's targeting with the Ontario Police Department and the California Highway Patrol, who are engaged in the statewide P.O.C. And that's what I'm documenting. You'll see the images of CHP, and what are they engaging in? Audible activity, light activity in the specific environment, which is Ontario, California, where demons fill this venue, not different from Elvira being on the stage at Ontario Town Square under a 6 p.m. fake sun. If you think that you're in a CHP vehicle under that fake sun in this engineered environment and you're not going to be documented, you're not going to be prosecuted, you're subject to some sort of different set of rules and laws, you're delusional. Okay? The entities engaging in a pattern of conduct that is shared by any and everyone at all times, just like the pattern of conduct was designed to be. Everybody is driving under the fake sun in order to engage in surveillance. Okay, including gang stalkers that stand on a stage and sing songs on a microphone, which is another creative method of amplified audible activity, where a bunch of demons are celebrating a demon on a stage, gang stalking. Okay, doing so in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. No small thing what CHP is engaging in, and CHP is doing it with the Ontario International Airport, stalking me, flying north as I go north, and I'm still being harassed and terrorized by the use of commercial planes that are not taking off from the airport, hovering over ARCO, hovering over this intersection. Okay, the entities engaging what is clear stalking, and that's the City of Ontario, the airport, the City of Ontario, the police department, the state of California, California Highway Patrol. Okay, it is currently 10:03 p.m. This is relevant to the video documentation that I'm capturing of the Ontario police engaging in terrorism, as in doing so with the intent to obstruct justice, as I publish the evidence which is crucial to protecting myself, my life, my safety, and my liberty. Because not only is the Ontario Police Department an agency of enemies to the Constitution in the United States and conspiring my murder to steal money and property from me, which has already happened, they're gang stalking to keep that from coming out, and also to conceal what are existing unsolved murders that the Ontario Police Department know very much about, are engaged in as an entity that's seeking to get away with concealing the fact that I'm adopted, the fact that the government has stolen my money, has enabled Tracy Banks and Jason Fields and the people of the state to steal my money and property as what is a matter of public corruption. Gang stalking me by this population is a part of getting away with that. This is supposed to reasonably result in what is kidnapping and murder and criminal defamation. The entities engaging in this while seeking to conceal what are sex crimes committed against me by the same state. The U.S. government, in fact. That's why you're interested in concealing the fact that I'm adopted, concealing who my biological parent or parents are, who left me money and property that this government stole, who was conspiring my murder along with my non-mother, Tracy Banks, who was also invested and engaged in targeting me. This is state action. And it's no mystery that the state police are engaging in that P.O.C., knowing exactly who I am. Sounding their sirens, crossing paths with their lights, and after driving by me, turning off those sirens. That's called stalking with activity in the engineer light. Okay? It is currently 10:05 p.m. This is all evidence pertaining to Fields, who is going to prison. He's going to federal prison for engaging in terrorism as a corrupt official, conspiring murder because he wants to get away with stealing a woman's money and property. This is no man at all. This is a coward, and he's also a corrupt official who is not only professionally incompetent, mentally incompetent. All right, it is currently 10:05 p.m. This is P.O.C. Ontario Police returning again, stalking as the video is being uploaded onto X. Jason Fields is going to prison. Flying right over me like I captured on the video that's being uploaded, flying over my head, going over the Starbucks at 507 Euclid Avenue, where this agency also committed a kidnapping, gang stalking me at 7:15 in the morning under the fake sun as well. The fake sun that is also documented setting on this same street, where the same agency is gang stalking under that fake sun that's on the same street, in alignment to me on the same street in multiple videos. Jason Fields is going to federal prison. It's 10:12 p.m. See Hazelwood? Number 21167 is gang stalking, just like the Ontario International Airport is. Moments before the Ontario police fly over the top of my head. The Ontario International Airport that is not listing the flights that are published, that are to be published, and they're not listing them the moment that I search them online at the same time that the demon is stalking me in a commercial plane. And what you'll see is list of flights for tomorrow, the 22nd, and not the 21st. In fact, it says, oh, there's a problem, try again later. And of course there's a problem when I'm looking up, while I'm looking at stalking in a commercial plane, the list of flights for departures from that airport is not available. Nonetheless, you're looking at what is, again, the absence of published flights from the Ontario International Airport, as it provides the 22nd and not the 21st, where they're deviating, flying miles away from that airport and hovering over me, and also doing so as I travel north up the same street where the entity is stalking all day long and all night long using commercial planes. And then the Ontario police fly over my head again at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue while I'm uploading video onto YouTube, which is just finished right now. I'm going to publish it. I'm going to publish that right about now at 10:14 p.m. The video captured at, what's the timestamp for this video? It is captured at 9:47 p.m. The entity is engaging in that conduct and is doing so. I want to be clear, the entity that's engaging in obvious stalking by the airport and by the police is the entity that has already committed murder, the entity that's concealed adoption, the entity that's engaged in concealing theft of my money and property, and is engaged in gang stalking as a distraction. And that's why L&D WAPNER would so foolishly provide evidence of clearly targeting an American citizen using an entire airport, an airport that's not going to exist. And why airlines would again expose themselves to prosecution for terrorism, because you're not getting out of gang stalking by writing me a check. You're going to prison, and you're also going to be prosecuted for murder. You're also going to be prosecuted for conspiring my murder by gang stalking with an intent to obstruct justice for murder that has already occurred. Okay, that which the entity doesn't want you talking about, and this flying over my head all over in the city of Ontario by the police, this gang stalking very obviously, as I refer to the airport, that's doing so while it's not published on the website, that's doing so while you are clearly under all circumstances flying miles away from the airport to then hover over the ground where I'm at, following me from place to, that's because the entity doesn't want to talk about what L&D WAPNER is engaged in, concealing murder committed by this entity, murder upon theft of my property, trying to conceal my identity, we're engaging in sex crimes against me. That's relevant to L&D WAPNER's engagement as a terrorist. Don't forget about that, because that's commercial plane activity at 1016, and that's also relevant to the prosecution of that airport as a terrorist. Their impunity with which they engaged in with the intent to obstruct justice, thinking that the federal government and everybody else is going to be distracted by their engagement in what is criminal activity at that. They decided to engage in criminal activity with regard to trying to conceal other criminal activity that this same government has committed. And they're doing so with the enemies of the United States, the people of the state, that are sex offenders and pedophiles and murderers, co-conspirators to concealing murder, taking out PP loans in my name, trying to frame me for criminal acts that they've committed, while they're gang stalking me day and night. Understand the entity that's engaging in that together, and the California Highway Patrol is a part of it. And the same way that the entity is gang stalking me, this is exactly what CHP is documented engaging in, doing so with knowledge and specific knowledge about who I am and where I'm located when they are stalking with light and audible activity in relevant position with the corrupt actors of the city of Ontario. And this is occurring under the corrupt leadership of Sean Dervey, appointed by Gavin Newsom, by the way. And California Highway Patrol is targeting me throughout Southern California, which my documentation proves. It's already sitting on the record. So California Highway Patrol wants to come to Ontario and gang stalk. That's what they were doing under the fake sun at the Route 66 show. Yes, they're demons, and yes, they're engaging in a statewide pattern of conduct. That is another agency of the state of California, just like DMV. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:17 p.m. Ontario International Airport, hovering in the same manner that I captured already, and doing so flying over the UNICARE Community Health Center at 10:19 p.m. P.O.C. the people of the state, gang stalking on the roads and the highways, sharing in criminal surveillance with the intent to obstruct justice with what is Alan D. WAPNER and the entire board of the airport authority that are engaging in terrorism. And so is every airline. P.O.C. Ontario Police, gang stalking. I published right now onto X the video of them engaging in stalking me, harassing and terrorizing me specifically as I am engaged in use of my device that this agency is keeping under surveillance criminally in concert with the population. This is the unprecedented crime of terrorism underway in California, where the demon possessed also, which colors the crime, are engaging in surveillance with that agency. 8 VGW 177. 8 U.S.T 669. Each of them are stalking and monitoring with the police. 9 CKB 820. 7 POY 223. I can't really see the rest of them. But the entity is doing so while the documentation referring to California Highway Patrol, that is a gang stalker, is being published onto my X. This is the pattern of conduct that as I've captured these terrorists engaging in what is ongoing wealth of evidence. They want you to witness them gang stalking me, and we're going to use that to have this agency disbanded and put every single last gang stalker co-conspirator to murder that did so with equal level of impunity, and doing so under the fake sun. They're going to federal prison. And then they're also going to be prosecuted for the murder that this entity committed trying to conceal it by gang stalking me. Those are the unintelligent demons that have no business in law enforcement. The entity doing so while California Highway Patrol rolls through the city to engage in gang stalking me with the corrupt actors of the city of Ontario. Stalking with impunity, and obviously with the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department, who are focusing on my location, repeatedly pacing by flying over my head, doing so while I'm at the Ontario Town Square, and then doing so while I'm at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And do not think that those are just the venues that they do that every day at, because they're also doing it while I'm at the bus stop at 111 North Vineyard Avenue yesterday while the fake sun's over the top of my head. This is what an entity is doing while I'm at Tracy Banks' apartment and they're flying circles over the top of my head. This is what the demons are doing while I am on public transportation, and they are stalking in the path. And you know that they're stalking me because the fake sun is visible over my head while I'm on the bus, public transportation, which is impossible to be the sun, and that impossibility is remaining over the top of my head, letting you know that the demons of the Ontario Police Department are specifically targeting me and that they're demons in doing so. They're demons that are keeping my devices and my evidence under surveillance while they are very much indeed engaging in surveillance with the California Highway Patrol. And those demons find it prudent to provide that level of evidence against themselves and the entire state of California. 5BZB 210, and Jason Fields is going to federal prison. 9SIA 801, Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. And the federal government is not ignorant about murder that has occurred pertaining to biological parents or a biological parent of mine, 4344-3L3, that this entity knows about. This entity knows about my adopted status. This entity knows about my money, my wealth that it stole. This entity knows about my identity while trying to take out PP loans and commit crimes in my name, while gang stalking me at the same time. The Ontario Police is going to be disbanded, and those demons are going to prison, every single last one of them that participated in kidnapping me, which they committed to try to hide the evidence of murder, hide the evidence of sex crimes committed against me by perverts, demons that are stalking me in helicopters and also having sex with me as a child. These are the demons of the Ontario Police that engaging in that, and also engage in what is trying to cover it up by gang stalking, which is not going to have it covered up. It's going to be exposed nationwide. And this is an agency that's going to be no more. This is P.O.C. And the entities engaging in flying over the top of my head while I'm documenting gang stalking by the California Highway Patrol. This is P.O.C. And Jason Fields, like I stated before, is going to federal prison. That was the most idiotic thing that you could do, was target a federal prosecutor because you don't want the crimes that you committed against her, who is going to prosecute you regardless, from coming out. And not only is that all going to come out, you're also going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism. And I want you to hear the helicopter. Fields is going to prison. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. C. Hazelwood's going to federal prison. Serial number 21167. C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan. Alex Escobar, A. Casada. They're going to federal prison. This is terrorism. They're flying back and forth. They're targeting me. Just like every time they're engaging in kidnapping, they're targeting with knowledge of who I am, trying to manufacture, put together a criminal record when I've committed no crimes. And the entity is doing so pursuant to what is state targeting, knowing exactly who I am. And that's relevant to also making up information about mental illness while you're engaged in stalking me, including in helicopters. And this documentation, which I'm capturing again on another night, flying over the top of my head, then flying back over the top of my head again, then flying back over the top of my head again, and flying back over the top of my head again right now. That's what I'm documenting while I am capturing evidence and putting it on the internet about the gang stalking by the California Highway Patrol in concert with the City of Ontario. That includes the Ontario Police Department, and that includes the Ontario International Airport. And they do so in furtherance of murder. They do so as an entity that's engaging in surveillance that is not a stranger to me. And they also do so with the intent to conceal murder, sex crimes against a child, the identity of that child that's now being gang stalked, and I'm referring to myself. This is P.O.C. and the entity flew over the top of my head again. I want to be clear, the Ontario International Airport, I reported them to I.I.S. I reported them to I.I.S. regarding their criminal activity with the entire immigrant population in the city of Ontario. Every single last immigrant resident is subject to deportation based on terrorism that the Ontario Police Department is engaging in with every single resident, every single business, everyone in the city of Ontario, because the entire city is engaging in criminal surveillance, and of those immigrants, that is relevant to deportation. And on that basis, I did report the Ontario Police Department to I.I.S. that's engaging in what is terrorism with the immigrant population in the city of Ontario and the state of California. And that is also reporting any immigrants that are currently employed working for the Ontario Police Department who are terrorists and who are also to be deported. There's no exception. And domestic terrorism is the line. You're not staying in this country because you wear an Ontario police uniform. In fact, you will be one of the first to be deported wearing an Ontario police uniform and engaging in terrorism. Okay, this is P.O.C. I want to make sure that this is clear while the entity is just having a field day flying over the top of my head back and forth and back and forth. The routine public nuisance and ongoing harassment and terrorism that agency engages in on a daily basis, and they're not protecting California Highway Patrol. Clearly, the more that they engage in targeting me as I document, the more that I refer to it, the more that I document and speak to that agency that's sharing in that criminal pattern of conduct. But the demon-possessed are intellectually impotent. They're demons. They're already dead, and so are their brain cells. They are not bright. They're just criminals and corrupt. That's it. They're just willing to go to far extents, far lengths to engage in criminal conduct and get away with it, but they're not intelligent. Clearly, you see it fall apart when I analyze it, when I apply logical and legal reasoning to it, when I apply it under the law as it exists, when I expose it, and the demons that are psychopaths, they come apart at the seams, providing me more evidence of exactly what you are. You're engaged in terrorism. You're engaged in targeting. And you're a terrorist when you do so as a police department. And they're doing so pursuant to every terrorist that's engaging in what is exercising authority that they don't have under the law. Because you know what the courts know? The courts also know that the Ontario Police Department are targeting me. The courts know that even while I go to those courts and I show you the fake sun over the top of my head. The courts know that while they're engaging in what is the pattern of conduct inside of those state facilitating venues. The court shall know that, because regardless of what you claim to know or not, you're going to be prosecuted for gang stalking me with the Ontario Police Department pursuant to any citation or any claim to have engaged in any arrest, because they don't have authority under the law. It's a kidnapping, and you're engaged in kidnapping, and those that already did, you're going to federal prison. This is the criminal record that you are engaging in right now. You already committed a kidnapping with this agency. You're going to prison. Kara Hudson, you're going to federal prison. Lisa Rogan, you are going to federal prison, okay? There's a list of you. Look yourself up in my evidence. Everybody else knows who you are. You're going to prison. It is currently 10:30 p.m. This is P.O.C.